Хьюстон, Мэйдэй. Доброй ночи всем, кто не спит. Что-то я решил все-таки, пока не спится, ненадолго застримить Teso онлайн. Древние свитки онлайн. В 2021 продолжаем немножко перед сном. Походим в Саммерсет и, может, забежим даже в западный Скайрим. По сюжетке много очень хочется успеть, но что у нас в Стиме, когда заходишь в Teso? Смотрите анонс нового приключения Врата Обливиона, получите бесплатного питомца. В среду, 27 января в час по московскому ночью смотрите трансляцию. Глава ZeniMax онлайн студии Мэтт Фейвор, старший вице-президент по международному маркетингу Bethesda, представит приключения длинные в год, также новомасштабную главу 2021 года. В прямом эфире они будут говорить о новых историях, сюжетах, системах и персонажах, а также трансляции присоединяются члены команды разработки ZeniMax онлайн, в том числе креативный директор Рич Ламберт, арт-директор Си-Джей Грэб, хранитель знаний Ремонт, Таток, который расскажет обо всем подробнее. За просмотр трансляции можно будет бесплатно получить Twitch дроп, в том числе кровный ящик Уробороса и нового питомца изумруд лягушку дракона. Да, но это на Teso. Twitch дроп. Twitch TV Bethesda. Ну давай попробуем открыть. Что она открывает? Там прямая трансляция сейчас. На Твиче. Смотрите. Стрим разрабов. Стрим разрабов. Bethesda. Народ, стрим разрабов. Новый ивент. Блин, ролик зашибительный просто, я офигеваю. Обливионская книжка. Oblivion. Короче, запускается новый ивент в Teso онлайн. 21-м Врата Обливиона они называются. И, собственно, разраб Bethesda сейчас транслирует это на Twitch TV, на твичском канале Обливион. Врата Обливиона.
Wow, there is a lot to take in that trailer. Fortunately, I have the perfect person to tell us about what we just saw, and that would be creative director Rich Lambert. Hi, Rich.
Поговорим с исполнительным директором.
Super excited to be here, and a big hello to everyone around the world.
So, Rich, let's start with somebody that stuck out like a sore thumb in that trailer. And you know me, I'm not great at lore, but even I can tell Mehrunes Dagon
Bethesda
when I see him.
2021.
What is he up to?
Well, he's up to his typical princely things. He's the prince of destruction, change, revolution, and he is up to trying to conquer Nirn. You know, this is what he thinks is his realm of Oblivion, and it's rightfully his. And so we'll have a lot more details on that.
Врата Обливиона
So
новый
if he's
ивент.
after Nirn, that means everybody in Tamriel is
Запускается на днях в
Always.
Steam, когда
But there's some other
заходишь.
familiar faces in there as well, including a trio of pretty powerful women that we see in there. Tell us more about that.
Well,
У
the
нас
boss
еще
mark
добавили
in Pigtails,
новый
that's
класс
Emily
какой-то.
Sharkborough. She's from
Лучница
Orsinium,
уже
and she's
была у
been
нас.
one of the most requested bringbacks for a very, very long time. There's Lyrinth, who is a Dromora, and she was
Dremora.
from the base game and Imperial City. And then we have a character who I will call the Imperial, and she represents the player or the player's journey throughout the entire story.
But we're not just seeing familiar faces, we're also seeing a really iconic
Не поверите,
location.
чисто
And
случайно.
it's pretty clear
Думаю,
from
зайду
the
в
name of
Teso.
our year-long adventure, we're headed back to
Добавили
the setting for the Elder
Обливион.
Scrolls 4.
Обливион
But
в
we're gonna
Teso
start the journey to
добавили.
Deadlands. So where are players going to visit first?
You're going to spend a lot of time in the Blackwood area, and this area reaches from
В области,
southern portion of Cyrodiil all the way east to
Черного
Shadowfen. And
леса.
the main story takes you to bits and pieces of the Deadlands. You'll get to see it.
Реально, чисто
but
случайно
really the
захожу в
focus
Steam,
on the
думаю,
Deadlands
поиграю в
will be
Teso.
in the fourth quarter.
Смотрю
So you're going to
новости.
get a little bit of Deadlands early on,
Новый
but the
ивент.
full experience is really going to happen later in this
Врата
year-long
Обливиона.
adventure.
And this
Смотрю,
is
и
our
разрабы
take
стримят
on
сейчас.
Mehrunes Dagon and his realm.
Давай
Over
замутим.
800 years in the past,
Это
so it's
мы
going to look
сейчас.
and feel just a little bit different.
Now, in real time, it feels like about 800 years since you and I worked on the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. It was only 15 years ago. It just feels like a lot longer. And I think that was your first game at Bethesda.
Yeah.
What
Да,
do you
First
remember
Game
from
at
working
Bethesda.
on
Он говорит, ты
Oblivion
какую
so
игру
long ago?
It
играл?
was such a blur.
10 лет
I
назад.
remember the hype
Даже больше.
being
14.
crazy, and I think
Да,
one of my favorite
Врата
moments
Обливиона
was
были.
that very
Обливион.
first E3 that we did, where you know, poor Todd was just absolutely tired from doing like 100 different walkthroughs every day.
Do you happen to remember that very
Интересно, это
first
будет
day of
платный
E3 when we were showing
или
off
это ивент
Oblivion that
будет?
the AC went out in our half of the convention center,
right,
so
yeah.
we had fans that we had found to try and keep the room cool, but the PC was running so hot from all of the demos. We had the fans pointed in the PC. We were like, everybody else can fan themselves.
Right.
We can't have the PC crashing. But you're right, the expectations were amazingly high for Oblivion that year.
They were almost unrealistic at the time, and I think you
Это
had a
очень
quote, something
реалистичная
along the lines of,
локация.
the expectations were so ridiculous that people thought we were going to cure blindness and heal the sick, or something like that.
Sounds like something I would say, right? Okay, but back to this year's game. So we touched on the big bad, and we touched on some of these iconic characters, and we talked about the locations a little bit, but the question that I have
Давай
next is,
поговорим о локации.
why are we here? What is going on in the Gates
Что
of
там
Oblivion
происходит?
that brings us here?
Well, this is all about Mehrunes Dagon, and since the first era,
про
he has been
Dagona.
trying to take Tamriel over. And this story that we're telling this year is essentially a deal with the devil, deceit, and Daedra. So without spoiling things too much,
Daedra
I'll
и
kind of
дьявол.
set the tone where the Longhouse Emperors entered into a pact with Mehrunes Dagon. And they wanted to rule all of Tamriel in his
Они
image.
хотят
And
контролировать
so
весь
he
Тамриэль.
decided that he would create 4 ambitions, or weapons of mass destruction, to give
Они
them that power.
сделали оружие массового
And of
разрушения.
course, things go wrong, and it's up to the player to discover what this plan is,
Игрок будет
what the ambitions are, and neutralize them.
изучать
Save them all.
Обливион.
I just want to say that I can't believe a deal with Mehrunes
Следовать.
Dagon went sideways like that. Is this a first in Elder Scrolls history?
No.
Okay, so I know many of you out there are big fans of the storytelling in
Я знаю,
ESO, and so
что
we
вы
want to take a minute to
вообще
hear from our
фанаты
lore master to
свитков.
find out more about Blackwood and the story of the Gates of
Вы
Oblivion.
познакомитесь больше с черным лесом и с историей.
Let me set the stage for what life is like in Tamriel during the Gates of Oblivion adventure.
Лор
Particularly
мастер
the
тут
regions you'll be
пишет,
exploring.
Лимон Татл.
For you Oblivion fans, we're about 800 years in the past. Prior to the events of Test 4, a wise emperor named Uriel Septim VII ruled the empire in a golden age of power and prosperity. Until he got stabbed by Dagon cultists. Cultists, right? They're the worst. But that's another story. During the age of the Elder Scrolls Online, things are a little rougher around the edges. Petty kings and grand alliances have been fighting over Cyrodiil for years during a period called the Interregnum. It's total pandemonium, and no one sits on the Ruby Throne. Blackwood, the region you'll be visiting, is in southern Syria.
Blackwood — это локация аргониан, где аргониане живут.
Got swampy roads, spooky alien ruins, giant man-eating frogs, the whole deal. Even so, its location at the mouth of the Topal Bay make it strategically important. So you got a mishmash of different cultures all living eyeball to eyeball here. Argonians, Imperials,
Сплетены разные культуры. Хаджиты, аргониане, имперцы. Все вокруг этого
Here's a few of the factions
локации.
you'll run into during your quests. First, there are the defenders of Leyawiin, the Ivory Brigade. These battle-tested soldiers serve the Chamber of Legates. It's kind of a ruling council for the city. Leyawiin's been on the receiving end of a bunch of invasions and occupations. The Ivory Brigade has no intention of letting that ever happen again. Then we have the Blackfin Legion, an army of Argonians loyal to Keshu, a big-time veteran of the Alliance War and an important figure in Argonian society.
Еще у нас
They're
добавится
based in Gideon
Blackwood.
to protect Argonian interests in the region. We also have one of my favorite factions, the Sul'Zan. They're a deranged tribe of Argonians who worship Mehrunes Dagon as the true egg child of Sithis. You know I love my Argonians. Combine them with one of my all-time favorite princes, Mehrunes Dagon, and you know, you got a stew going. I'm super excited for everyone to dive into this year's story. You're gonna dig it for sure.
Вернее, вот так оно это называется. Event.
Thank you, Lore Master Lehman.
Врата
Before I get back to my conversation
Обливион.
with Rich, let's talk about how you can get started on your Gates of Oblivion adventure. This year's chapter, Blackwood, is available for pre-purchase right now. Head to ElderScrollsOnline.com or your favorite online retailer and pick it up. Everyone who pre-purchases will immediately receive an in-game mount, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on this year's. We've got a new mount type this year. Get ready to travel across Tamriel
Приготовьтесь к
on a
путешествию в Тамриэль.
well. And anyone who pre-purchases before
Новый
March will
вид
immediately
монстра.
receive a new and exclusive in-game pet. We have a few different ways to pre-purchase, catering to both new and long-time vets. Plus, a bunch of exclusive
Blackwood.
in-game items you'll get when the Blackwood
Блин,
Chapter
пацаны,
launches
это
later
новая
this year,
обнова.
including an outfit style, crown crate, and more. And
Новая
with the
DLC
digital
в
collector's
Teso
edition upgrade,
Blackwood.
you can get
Обалдеть.
even
Так
more
недавно
awesome
они
in-game exclusives. We've got
выпустили
all the info you need on our website, so
Grey
be sure to
Moor.
check it out and get your exclusive mount and pet
Обалдеть.
today.
Только недавно они выпустили Греймур. И уже
Okay, Rich,
обнова
let's tell folks a
Blackwood.
little bit more about what they can expect.
This is another year-long story where all 4 major content releases help tell that story of the Gates of Oblivion.
Новая обнова
It's gonna be a very
Blackwood
familiar
и
cadence as
новый
well, where we have a
ивент
dungeon
Врата
DLC in
Обливион.
quarter 1 and quarter
Gates
3.
of Oblivion.
We have the chapter in quarter 2,
Blackwood.
and then the 4th quarter wraps up the entire season with a story DLC. And the very first is called Flames of Ambition, and that's the dungeon DLC.
Now, what if dungeons aren't my thing, or I don't have 3 friends to run it with?
We have a couple of different things that you can do. We have the Dungeon Finder tool that will help you get into those dungeons in a pickup group. You could join a guild using the Guild Finder that will help you find people of, similar interests. Or, if you're not really into dungeons at all, you don't have to worry about it because the dungeons help set the tone and some of the framework for the story, but they aren't mandatory.
Gotcha. Now, we always talk about how the Elder Scrolls Online is welcoming to new players, both as a game and as a community. But if I'm a new player, how do I get involved with the Elder Scrolls Online? Where do I start?
I think you just jump in. You just start playing the game and exploring the world and ask questions. Our community is unbelievably welcoming. They will go out of their way to help you and answer questions with new players. It's your path, it's your choice.
Попробуем
So
найти.
do what makes you feel good and what interests you.
Попробуем найти
If you're
Врата
interested in
Обливиона.
getting in on the Gates of Oblivion storyline right away, we actually have a new Prologue quest coming soon, and that's free for all players.
And then we've also got things, if you're dying to try Elder Scrolls Online, whether it's a free trial week that we do on different platforms throughout the year. So even if you're not entirely sure about Elder Scrolls Online, there's always an easy way to sample a little bit and see what all the fuss is about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the biggest part of this year-long adventure, which is that Blackwood chapter. What can players expect when Blackwood releases?
So this is our biggest content drop of the entire year. It's similar in size and scope to elsewhere, where it's all one zone. We don't split the content up like we did in Greymoor across multiple zones. It's roughly 30 hours of new content. There's new public dungeons, new delves, there's group bosses, there's a new Dark Anchor type of gameplay that we're calling Oblivion portals. There's also a new 12-player trial for our veteran players.
And thanks to one Tamriel, all of that content is available to you regardless of whether you play by yourself, like I do, or you play with others, whether you're low level or high level, that you get just play wherever you want with whomever you want.
It's your choice. Do what makes you happy.
Anything else we could expect?
Actually, we have a brand new tutorial, and we've built this special for this chapter. And one of the long requested features of our tutorials is to let players have their own choice in the story that they want to play in. So we did that this time around, where there will be some basic tutorial things that we teach you, how to swing your sword, how to, equip abilities and move around. But then there's a moment in there where you get to choose your path, and you get to choose any of the stories from base game all the way through all of the chapters on where you want to go to next.
You know me, I am always rolling new characters and starting again, and this seems like a really fun way to get in and start a new experience in Elder Scrolls Online. So Rich, let's say I'm somebody who is fortunate enough to get their hands on a Series S or a Series X or a PlayStation 5. What can you tell us about the next-gen version of Elder Scrolls Online?
Blackwood launches in June. PC, Mac, Stadia, Xbox One, PlayStation 4. And the next-gen clients that we talked about late last year, we're still working on those, so we'll have more details on those soon. But what I can say is ESO runs unbelievably well in compatibility mode on both the Series X and PS5.
На PS5.
Okay, Rich, so we've talked about the story.
Yep.
We talked about some of the key characters. We talked a little bit about the location, but I want to explore more here. Tell us more about what players can expect, the sites, what they're going to see when they explore throughout the Gates of Oblivion adventure.
So like Greymoor, you're going to see both familiar and unfamiliar places. We're 800 years in the past. So the familiar locations are really on the western portion of the zone, that Topol Bay area, and that contains the city of Leowin, which you got to explore a lot of in Oblivion. It's going to feel very familiar, but slightly different. As you progress east throughout the zone, as you get closer to Shadowfen, there's more bogs, more swamps, and this is where it starts to be our kind of own thing. And we're going to take you to Gideon, which hasn't been seen since 1994 in Arena.
Now, we got to know the Khajiit in the Elsewhere chapter. Now we're heading to the home of the Argonians. So what can you tell us about what we should expect?
So this is not the first time that we've explored Argonian culture. We did some of that in the Murkmire DLC. Blackwood, though, is going to feel very different. This is more of a melting pot, and Murkmire was extremely isolated. So there's this really cool contrast, of clashing cultures, Argonian meets Imperial.
That is two clashing cultures if you were going to pick two. There's another area I think players are going to be really excited to explore, and that's, of course, the infamous Deadlands. What can you tell us about this unique area of Blackwood?
Deadlands in the Blackwood chapter is going to feel very familiar. It's that iconic fire and brimstone, jagged edge environment.
При обновах Teso, да, на PS5 выходит. Teso я херел. Все жидно было, кроме Teso на PS5. Это новый ивент Врата Обливиона называется. Blackwood, новая локация. И новый ивент Врата Обливиона. Можно будет телепортироваться в Обливион. Вот туда.
Now let's take a closer look at 3 biomes from Blackwood with art director CJ Graham.
When it comes to biomes in ESO, we always begin and end with the lore and the history established by previous Elder Scrolls games. We are happy to indulge our players' nostalgia and remind them of why they fell in love with these lands in the first place. With the year-long adventure being loosely based on Test 4, we embrace the opportunity to go back into Test history and explore a land that we haven't had a chance to visit in 15-ish years.
Ты посмотри ролик завтра или сегодня, когда будет время. Может, я попробую показать. Они еще и ролик спецом новый сделали.
And the Gates of Oblivion adventure. There are 3 big regions in Blackwood. Each one's distinct, and we can't wait for players to start immersing themselves into it. First is the Nibben Forest. We're talking rolling hills, lowland swamps. Players should recognize in those hills the distinctive landscapes of Cyrodiil, which of course lays directly to the north. This is the region where Leeuwin is located. Our artists had a lot of fun going back, adapting those classic Tudor styles in the buildings of the original Leeuwin and bringing them into the ESO style. The distinctive colors, the stylings of the buildings, it's all there. Players will also find adventure in Blackwood Bog. This is where you'll find Gideon and Rockguard. This is a wet, open area. We were very excited to come back and fully realize this city, which Elder Scrolls players haven't seen since Arena. Gideon allowed us to explore the interesting cultural mashup of the Imperials and the Argonians as we get closer to Blackwood's shared borders with the Argonian lands in Blackmarsh. The surrounding bog is visually shaping up to be one of my favorite locations in Blackwood.
Что-то я передумал смотреть аниме. Я зашел, думаю, ну на Teso поиграю. Смотрю, а тут обнова. Blackwood и новый Event, Врата Обливиона. И Blackwood новая локация. Но они, конечно, дают.
And then we have something
они
completely
недавно
different.
только Греймур выпустили Запад бесконечный. А сейчас они выпускают Blackwood
It
и
was a lot of
Врата
fun to explore this tribe of Argonian Daedra worshippers. It resulted in one of my favorite new motifs in the chapter. The integration of distinctly Argonian decorative elements we're so used to seeing in their architecture and their armor had to be melded with that specific edged knife-like shapes we know from Daedric armor. And pulling
тоже
together was a
DevStream,
challenge, but ultimately
только разрабов
to my eyes like something
Digital
perfectly
Extremes.
balanced.
В пятницу DevStream по Warframe.
Last but not least,
Ждем
we got to talk Deadlands,
Octavia
right?
Prime.
Creating a new Daedric architecture
А
and
сейчас
motifs specifically for the realm of Oblivion
показывают
has
концепт-арты
been really
Обливиона.
amazing. This is
Это
one
Свитки
area
Онлайн,
where simply
древние Свитки
copying
Онлайн.
past Elder Scrolls games was not going to be sufficient for us.
Так это не будет
There's a lot of
поздно,
ground to
это
cover
как всегда.
with Daedra when it comes to the militaristic, stratified aspects of their culture.
Я думаю, 5 это
And although we
них
don't get
там,
to
кажется,
see all of it in
золотые.
Blackwood, rest assured, we had to think
Но
about
сейчас
it for the
среда,
future.
да?
Our take on the Deadlands is only the tip of the iceberg, or should that be volcano? Never mind. We'll give the players a small taste of it in Blackwood, with more to come.
Оркестр на 8:30.
All right, Rich,
Но
it's
думаю,
time to
стану
talk
в 6,
Daedra. Now, we talked
чтобы
about it a little bit
разыграться.
before,
Ну,
but
может,
there's
и
a
нет,
reason we're
стану
headed to Blackwood, and it's a familiar name for
7:30.
Oblivion fans, Mehrunes Dagon. How big a deal is the Daedric Prince in this year's adventure?
He's the anchor for the entire year. It's all about him and his latest scheme to take over Tamriel.
And he's such a big deal, we actually have him here in the ZOS studio.
That's going to look amazing in my office.
Вот это босс.
It'll look amazing in anybody's office.
Это новый
And Dagon
босс
has a
в
ton of followers,
Обливионе.
and some of whom we saw in the trailer. Will players encounter a lot of worshippers while they're playing the
Завтра
game?
For sure.
подразумеваю
The
через
Daedric princes
22-30
are
часа.
not allowed to meddle in the world of Tamriel. They need help in order to mess around in the mortal world. And that's where the cultists come into play. They do the
Это
bidding for
Дагон.
the princes. and you're gonna
Дагон, это
encounter
в
a lot of things.
Это в
There's a lot more
Обливионе.
to Dagon. For more, let's go back to Lore Master Lehman.
Ну, короче, Дагон это, ну, по сути, как бы, ну вы поняли, кто это. Если
I don't
Обливион,
make any
Дайдра.
secret of the fact that Mehrunes Dagon is one of my all-time favorite Daedric princes. We know a lot about him, but it's all bound up in weird, subtext awesome books like Mancur Cameron's commentaries. How reliable are those books? We don't really know, which is classic Elder Scrolls. Reading Dagon's book, Mysterium Xerxes, makes people write a lot of weird stuff. According to Cameron's commentaries, Dagon began as an avatar of hope.
Это
But
Обливион,
what
да.
does hope really mean?
Обливион
Where
есть
does hope
отдельная
intersect with
игра.
ambition?
А
And where does
это в
ambition
Свитках
intersect with
онлайн
madness?
сделали
A lot of people have asked
дополнение
me what's
Event.
different about Dagon in the second era
Event,
compared to the Dagon we encountered in Test 4.
Вот,
The truth
смотрите,
is,
вот
princes
геймплей.
are bound to their nature, but the plans evolve.
Врата
In
Обливион.
our time period,
Дополнение
Dagon hasn't
нового.
exactly figured out all the delicate science that let him pull off the Oblivion crisis.
Blackwood.
But he's learning, and that's never good. Will you learn more about him through the Blackwood and Gates of Oblivion story? Yes. Can I give you the specifics? Absolutely not. Spoilers, right? I will say that over the course of the year, you'll get a better sense
У
of
него
who
такие
Dagon is
мыли
as a
в
character.
ушко.
What's under all the bluster?
В
What really
ушко
matters
такие
to him?
мыли у
You get
него.
a chance to see all of
Ладно,
that.
я не буду
Dagon has a
прикалываться.
lot of cultists that
Херосики,
worship
да.
him, mostly because
Есть
he's so
композитор
approachable.
Пьяццола.
You know,
Написал
not him
произведение
specifically, but his
«Обливион».
worldview. He taps into that rebellious streak we all have.
О, это этот
I
маг
think all of us have a
вызывает
little anarchy tucked away
огненного
inside us somewhere. Dagon
как это?
personifies that. He's the
Атрана.
god of flipping tables.
Огненная Атрана.
There's something cathartic about that whole way of looking at things. We love stability, but if you're ever walking down the beach and you feel
Смотри,
that
какой
drive to
древний
kick
свиток
over a
на столе
sandcastle
здоровый.
and just kind of see what the ocean makes of it, that's Dagon. Players will see and hear a lot from the Prince of Destruction and Revolution in this year's content.
Принц
It's going to be
разрушения,
nuts.
что-то он
Hope
рассказывает.
you all are ready.
Это про этот, про Обливион, да. Про этого. Дагон Лавкрафт.
Before we
Знаете,
wrap
писатель
up, we've got
Лавкрафт писал
one more
про
thing that a
Дагона.
lot of you have been asking about. And Rich, I
Кто
wonder if you want to
Дагон?
let them all in on what you've been working on.
I'm very excited to announce that we'll be
Мы очень
introducing
впечатлены.
companions later this year. And companions are
Аштор,
adventuring buddies. They're unlocked
Пиаццола,
by Blackwood through
Обливион.
quests. And they
Кстати,
provide
красиво
utility and
произнес.
support for players as you explore the world of Tamriel.
Это на
Once
фортепиано
unlocked, you can
или...
level them up. You can have dialogues with them. You can equip
Или
them
это
with gear,
скрипка?
set their combat behaviors and abilities. And they'll be your permanent companion from here on out if you choose.
That sounds awesome. Now, what should I expect from a companion, especially a guy like me who plays Elder Scrolls Online solo?
You're always going to have somebody there for you.
Ух ты!
If you need a little bit of extra healing or a little bit of extra damage or tanking, you have somebody there in your pocket, so to speak. And you can use them pretty much everywhere, except for maybe PvP. But we'll go into a lot more of those and have a deep dive as we get closer to chapter launch.
Круто. На
And that's
гармошке.
a wrap. Thanks to Rich, Lehman, and CJ for sharing so many exciting details about Gates of Oblivion.
На баяне.
And a big thank you to Matt Firor, who invited us into his home away from home. But most of all, thanks to all of you for tuning
до
in.
какого уровня
Remember,
докачался?
Blackwood is available for
Астер
pre-purchase
Пиаццола
right now.
писал
Head to elderscrollsonline.com for
для
all the
древнего
details.
инструмента
And now, I'll turn it over
бандонеона.
to Gina and Jess for a special
Бандонеона.
ESO Live.
Это
Thanks,
предок
and take
аккордеона.
care.
О, так я угадал. Для баяна. Не, это я почти угадал. А, гармошка это такое, как в Техасе, маленькая гармошка. А это аккордеон и баян. О, смотри, ролик новый, смотри. Вот, я про него говорил. ESO Live Begin. Через 3 минуты. Зацени. Bethesda Softworks представляет совместную 20-ю столетие Фокс. ZeniMax Online Studios. Обливион был еще до гармошки. Обливион был еще до гармошки. Сейчас начнется движуха. О, видишь? Книжка Обливион. Да, ядра пришел. Кто это? Дремора. Да я тебе говорю, Крис, это как... Я так в шоке от той чуйки, какая у меня была. Я думаю, а ну-ка я в Teso зайду. Захожу в Teso, и тут стрим разрабов, блин. Новая обнова и новый ивент. Прикинь. Просто случайно. Я же не знал, что новая обнова. Чайник. Приятного чайку. Книжку скоммунизили, которая врата Обливиона открывает. Культистов. Да, я тоже чайку пью. Наливай нам тоже, не миру. Офигеть, да? И шо, они попали в Обливион. Потусторонний. Ну, это, короче, это тартарары. Ну, или ад. Типа того. Дальше будет. У меня в кладовке есть что-то покрепче. Чайка. Я даже не сомневаюсь. Бля, не, ну, ролик имба. Я с открытым ртом смотрю. Да, я тоже офигел. Ну, смотри, PS4, Xbox, ПК, ПК Mac какой-то, PS4.
Hi everybody.
Wow, welcome everybody.
Gates,
How
Врата,
much
Обливион,
did you
ну,
enjoy
вот
that
это новая
review? It
обнова.
was awesome, right?
Сколько сахара?
It was
Мне
great.
2.
So we hope that you enjoyed everything that you saw, and we are so glad to see so many of you joining us today for our stream.
From all around the world, thank you.
Yeah.
Мне
So this
3,5
year,
на
more
пол
than ever,
литра
Tamriel
чая.
has been a home to so many, a family even, to everybody globally in ESO. We've seen people all around the world connecting, staying connected with each other, family, friends, even guildmates, and staying connected with each other during a time when being together has not always been possible.
Она типа
Even us.
Ребекка в
And we
Warframe.
love seeing that.
Она директор
So this is just one of the
по
many
связи
things
с
that makes
общественностью.
you,
Ну,
the
с
ESO fam, so
подписчиками
special.
там. Так далее.
It
Комьюнити,
was really sweet, Jess.
другими словами.
Yeah,
You are
it's been
you are
been a
one
good
with
year.
words.
Комьюнити менеджер.
Менч,
Менч, короче, кружка пол-литровая.
Continue that journey with all of you this
34
year with
кидаю
the Gates of
сахара.
Oblivion year-long story.
Я тоже такую футболку хочу.
So
Blackwood,
everyone,
Elder
just
Scrolls.
park yourselves
Я буду
right here.
2,5 сахара.
Get comfy. And we're
your
gonna
favorite snack and beverage.
grab a snack. You're going to be with us for a little bit, and let's take a look at what we have in store for today's show.
Great show lined up.
Great
A
show.
lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Ну, новая
first, we're
локация
just going to do a
Blackwood.
quick
Today.
recap of the
Recap.
announcements from the review event that we
Анонсированные
just watched, and then get
ивенты,
into a brief
новые.
that SKUs is kind of an internal term.
Showcase,
This was my
это,
mistake putting that there. All the different kind of variations of the
шоу
chapters that you
в
can purchase and all the
Графиках
different
Онлайн.
things that you get for pre-purchasing the chapter.
Мерч, который
We're also gonna
продается, скоро будет
showcase
продаваться
a
на
bunch of new
сайте.
ES available now or
Дискуссия
coming soon.
про
One of the most
врата,
fun parts of a new year-long story.
ну, собственно, про
all
врата
the fun new stuff.
Обливиона, которые,
Then
новая глава,
we
которая скоро
are-
в Teso.
Lost my thing.
Ревьюха,
It's so tiny on my screen, I can
огни,
barely see it. We're going to be doing a
амбициозные
brief
какие-то
discussion
огни,
on the Gates of
дополнения
Oblivion and upcoming
29-го,
chapters, sort of what this means. What is the Gates
29-й
of
обновы
Oblivion? Then we'll be getting into a
с
full preview of
ведущим
Update 29 and the
дизайнером
Flames of
Майком
Ambition DLC,
Финниганом
which
и
is the first DLC,
ведущим
with lead...
дизайнером по
Boy, I
боевке
didn't
и по
realize the mouse wheel
PvP
would do
дизайну
that.
Брайану Виллеру.
now we know. Don't hit the mouse wheel when we're in the middle of
Upcoming
talking.
Q1
We're
Games,
going
знаешь,
to be
что такое?
joined by lead encounter designer Mike Finnegan and our lead
Lots
combat
of
and PvP
giveaway.
designer
Twitch
Brian
Drop.
Miller.
Twitch Drop тоже есть.
We'll also go
Ш-
over some upcoming in-game events that
Я
you can
кидал
enjoy
ссылку.
in
Могу кинуть
Q1,
еще ссылку на
and a
Twitch.
preview of the new annual collectible, the thing that replaces
То
the
там
indie
дают
game.
дракончика.
And lots of giveaways and
Пэта.
fish drops, of course,
Пэта
throughout the
дракончика
show.
дают.
We've been doing a lot of giveaways, yeah.
Знаешь, на
We have
Nintendo
so
ты
many.
точно не ожидаешь,
So
что я пью чаек в
First and
2-литровой
foremost,
банке.
The Dragon Frog
Банки.
that we know a lot of you
У
have
меня
been
в кладовке
asking about.
шампанское
We
и
see in chat, a
коньяк.
lot of you have
Конфеты
been
с
claiming the
коньяком.
Dragon
Завтра еще
Frog.
пиво куплю 3-4
Looks like
бутылки
this.
лимонад.
So just want to make sure
А, ты
that
уже
your
готовишься к
Twitch and
днюхе.
ESO accounts are linked. We know that we
Двухлитровая
had
банка.
website maintenance earlier. You
Чаепитие
can now
местных
get in
шерифов.
and link your accounts.
Вот такого
Also,
питомца дают.
We are making it rain Ouroboros crown crates for today's event. So
Если
for
смотреть
every
на
30 minutes
Twitch
that you
канале
watch,
Bethesda,
every 30 cumulative minutes,
могу ссылку
you will
скинуть.
get an
Скинуть?
Ouroboros crown crate. Now,
Bethesda.
aside from making sure that your accounts are linked, you also need to make sure that you claim your drops. This is new in Twitch as of a few weeks ago. So you can either go to
92 тысячи онлайн.
twitch.tv/drops to go straight to the drops page,
Прикинь.
or if you click your username at the top right,
92 тысячи
there's a
онлайн.
little icon there.
Я не
Go
помню,
down
вы
to
помните,
drops,
когда
and
мы
then it'll take you to
смотрели
that page. So just make sure that you
Тена
claim
Кон?
within 24
Сколько
hours,
онлайн был?
and
На
claiming
Тена
it means
Коне.
that you can
Тена
then
Лайф.
work towards progress for the next drop. So, important stuff to keep in mind.
По-моему, больше
And
100к.
there's more.
Больше 100 тысяч.
Some of you may have seen that we're also giving
Как они
away
знают, что
crown
Teso привязана к
packs
Steam?
throughout the stream that included the main stream that you
Ну,
just
скорее
watched and
Google,
this
наверное.
ESO Live special. We're giving away 5 crown packs approximately
Но у меня
every
Twitch
5 minutes.
привязан,
All you have to do is just be logged into Twitch and
по-моему,
participate in
к Google.
chat. You can look to see if you've won by checking
Что-то, короче,
a forum
привязано.
post that we have
Google,
stickied on
Twitch,
the
YouTube,
official ESO
Steam,
forums.
Epic Games.
There's actually a link
Что там еще?
in the
Discord,
panels
по-моему.
right below the Twitch,
Можешь
stream
мне
box.
скинуть компа,
Click
поставлю на
on
Twitch.
to
Nintendo
go
Nights,
to
готовишься,
the
я на
official
днюхе, одно
forum post
шампанское,
and
одно
check it
вино
out.
открыл,
We'll be
вино
updating that
белое.
throughout the stream and awarding the crown packs after the show.
We've already had
А ну
a number
смотри.
of crown winners, which is pretty exciting.
Awesome!
Yeah.
Free crowns, making it rain crowns.
Смотри, народ.
And we also have a physical merchandise giveaway that we will be running.
96
And we're going to take a look at
16.
some of those items now. So these are some of the brand
Gates
new
of
items that we'll
Oblivion.
be going into a little bit more detail during the show. That are brand new for the Blackwood. And
Я уже жду не
of
дождусь
Oblivion
девстрим от
Story.
разрабов Warframe.
Blackwood
Я
Chapter.
так давно
So there's the statue
жду
that you
этот
saw
девстрим.
during the earlier stream.
Я обожаю
There's,
девстримы
some
разрабов
There's an
Warframe.
ambitions puzzle, a dwarven
Надеюсь,
constellation
что они
cube,
покажут новый
brand new
теноген
t-shirt, a
какой-то,
lithograph,
новый
and an ambitions token. So we'll take a closer look at those
Октавию
later.
Прайма.
But we actually
Может быть,
wanted to
покажут
announce our
геймплей
very
какой-то.
first
Может быть,
winner for
покажут
this whole bundle. You get everything.
оружку
right now.
новую. Новый какой-то ивент покажут, может
Who
быть.
is it?
It
Там
is
стеклодув уже
I am tall.
Его уже не
I am
будет.
tall.
Он уже все.
Congratulations. So we will be
Стеклодув
in
больше не
touch
будет.
to get your contact information, and these items will be shipping out around the June-July time frame.
Yeah, a little bit closer to
Congratulations.
summertime. Congratulations. I am tall.
Но нам они
I do want to
показывают
mention, we saw a few of you in
Blackwood,
chat saying that you can't
новая
access the
локация,
website if you're either
и
trying
Врата
to
Обливион, это новый
repurchase or if you're
квест.
trying to link your accounts. We are aware, we are working on it, so just hang tight and promise it will come back. And as far as
Welcome
the
back.
crown giveaways that Jess mentioned, I saw a few people asking, how do I know if I've won? We do have a forum thread on the forums, forums.elderscrollsonline.com.
У нас,
You don't
кстати,
have to
снег
look,
резко
just go
выпал
there.
еще вчера.
There is a
Серьезно?
post at the top, and you can also click on the
значит,
Twitch
ждите
channel
в
that is
Черновцах.
below, down there. It should say
Ссылочка
crown
на
pack
Bethesda
giveaway.
на
So
Twitch
if
я
you click
скинул
that,
в
it'll
чат.
take you to the forum thread, so you can see
И в
the forum.
описании это тоже
Yep,
я
and that will be
я
updated
оставил.
approximately every 5 minutes.
Смотрите,
We are
для
doing this
Twitch дропу.
annually, not us, but we have a very kind soul who's helping us. Thank you, Julie. And she'll be updating the forum
Ага.
thread roughly every 5 minutes with the winners. So
right.
next up, we want to take a trip back in memory lane, back to last January.
When
Feels
we
like
were
a
in
very
Las
long
Vegas.
Time ago. Feels like a very long time ago when we were announcing the Grimoire chapter. We
Новая
announced
глава
that we would be doing a
в
polar
Свитках
plunge
онлайн.
with Pete and Rich and even us, and we didn't get a chance to go and do it like we wanted to due to COVID.
Yep, some
But-
things happened in the real world.
А,
But
мы
yes,
получили возможность сделать
we
больше
let
в
us
Свитках
off the
онлайн
hook. So
во время ковида.
Pete and Rich were kind enough to do
19.
it in their own homes. We're gonna take
И
a
во
look at
время
that now.
работы дома мы вот подготовили, чем они занимались. И вот они занимались разработкой. И вообще просто вот они
All right,
показывают, чем
Elder
они
Scrolls Online
занимались
community,
во
you
время
held up your end, so Rich and I are going to hold
пандемии.
up ours and take the icy plunge. Here we go.
Что он делает? Закаляется, что ли? О, щит. О-о. Зачем это делать? Нет. Это жесть. А, это водохреща. Это же было этот 19... Водохреща было. Вы не знаете, это Мирослав, наверное, знает. Крис. Не, а в России тоже ж плавают.
there you go. Hope it was worth it.
Нормально, да?
Aren't they good
I
sports? Oh, I
am
love
so
that.
glad we didn't have to do that. I mean, I was really kind of a little nervous. So sorry, Rich and Pete, but thanks for entertaining us.
Крещение, да.
That was amazing. Thank you both. It was such good sports.
Крещение.
All right, we are
Ну да,
going to
по
do a
сути,
really quick
получается.
recap of everything
Крещение,
that Pete, Rich, Matt, Liam, and CJ announced. Gates of
Врата
Oblivion,
Обливион
obviously our
announced.
year-long adventure this year. we can't wait for everybody to dive in.
Когда же оно выйдет? А ну
So
покажите.
first we have Flames of Ambition. This is our first DLC
Flames of
for the
Ambition.
Gates of Oblivion. It
Горящие
is
амбиции? Чё?
the dungeon pack coming in Q1 of this year.
Не, огни.
It
Огни.
includes 2 4-player dungeons.
Он пожертвовал собой
So
ради
we have
видео с
Blackfin
бассейне
Legion
с ледом.
and the Cauldron. And we're
А,
actually
вот
going to be
новая
showing you a preview
локация.
of these dungeons a
Концепты
little bit later in the
показывают.
show. So
Это
you wanna
похоже
be sure
как
to stick around
Деймос.
if you wanna see those.
И внутри.
We also have, of course, the new chapter
Ладно, чё, у меня
Blackwood that you all
постоянно
are
с
talking
Warframe
about. We
какая-то
love seeing your
ассоциация.
enthusiasm in chat during the stream and on our social channels.
А,
So this
потому что это разрабы, и
includes
меня
the
сразу
bustling
вспоминаю в
port
эту
city
Ребекку,
of
блин.
Blackwood from
Это
Test
Blackwood.
4. Haven't been seen since then.
Локация.
We have a shot here
Город.
overlooking the city. Oh,
Новый
and now
город
we're
Blackwood.
looking at one on the inside of the city.
Ну, похож немножко на...
And Gideon, a town
на
that hasn't been
этот,
seen
как его?
since Arena, plus pockets of the
Это
Deadlands.
имперский город, но...
The chapter is also about the same size as elsewhere, so you can expect lots of areas to explore, meet new characters, do quests, and team up with your friends to
Новый
do
класс,
group
говорит,
content.
сделали.
And of
новые
course,
локации,
the big baddie that we saw in the
Новые...
teaser trailer and tonight, Mayron's
Ивент,
Dagon,
собственно,
Daddy
новая
Dagon.
локация Обливион.
in all his glory.
Oh, look at... We're
И
not-
по сути это
we're
новый
not going to
босс.
start
Look at those
thirsting
abs.
over Dagon
Look
here.
at the abs.
It's not going to happen. It's not
Dagon.
gonna happen.
Что, реально босс Дагон будет? Ну,
Gonna
блин,
watch
это
some
будет круто.
Dirty clothes on
Мировой
those abs
босс.
later.
Если это будет мировой босс,
Moving on,
то это будет
the companion system.
шикарно,
Now this is
конечно.
something that I think
Не
Rich
знаю,
was able to announce
Ярослав
during the reveal earlier.
Никогда не
We're very
пробовал
excited
играть
about
в
this.
Teso, но
Think of these
возможно
as
когда-нибудь,
like your adventuring buddies as you go through
может быть,
Tamriel.
получится
You're going to be able to
поиграть
unlock these
в Teso. Я
doing
никогда не играл в
quests in
Teso.
Blackwood.
Помню, как
You
Юра
can level
играл.
them up.
А,
you
еще ты
assign
помнишь, как я
combat
играл?
rules, skills, equip new gear.
Хз, про что
They're
играл?
there with you when you're doing a lot of this
Ну,
content.
Но про
What's
Свитки
also cool about them is you can
огромнейший
unlock
мир Тамриэль.
personal story quests for each
Его
companion
населяют
as you kind of build
хаджиты,
a
это
rapport
типа
with them.
коты, органяне,
And
типа
you can
ящерки,
summon
люди,
them
темные
at
эльфы,
will.
даннеры,
So,
высокие
you're going
эльфы,
along,
лесные эльфы,
You can put them away if you don't want them
норды,
following you. I get it.
имперцы.
It can be a little much when you have somebody constantly following you, right?
Don't put
And
them
then-
all on the outfit.
Yeah.
on the, on the
Магия.
outfit station.
Меч и
But-
магия.
I am that person that leaves
Как
my
любая
bear out
MMORPG,
when I'm in town. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
Используется
That's what
магия,
it goes.
мечи, в зависимости от
But
того,
yeah, let's say you're kind of going along,
э,
trying to do a world boss. There's nobody else around.
в зависимости
Well,
от того,
your companion
чем
and
ты
tap them
играешь
up.
в игре,
So you
Yep.
can
и
bring
то
them in and out as you
качается у тебя.
So we're going to have
То
two
есть-
launch with the chapter. There's going to be a male imperial, which you can see in
Но
the
они
screen
сказали,
capture.
что это типа
And then
пэт,
there's also gonna be a female
питомец,
runner.
питомец,
So,
который
as
просто
Rich
за
said,
тобой
you can
ходит.
use anywhere except solo arena and
В
PvP.
зависимости от того, кем ты
But we
играешь,
are kind
типа,
of
ну
currently
каким
testing
оружием,
and
там
balancing
посох,
everything, so things may
качается
change
магия,
as
там
we
посох,
continue on with our
интеллект.
And of
Играешь
course, we're gonna give all the
кинжалами,
details on these
качается
and how
там
they work
ловкость
in
и
the future as we
типа
get a little bit closer to the
атака,
chapter, but
ближний
we hope that
бой,
you're as
плюс
excited about these
там
as we are.
скрытность,
They're gonna be a really cool addition to the game.
что там еще, ловкость,
Can't
скрытность
tell you how many times I've
Скрытное
done the exact
убийство
same scenario, Gina,
и
where I've been trying to kill
Gone to
an
the world
old-
boss
a
and
yeah, like a base game
клинки,
world
парное
boss.
оружие,
You do the,
Newer DLC.
ножики,
Oh my
деггеры,
you do the John Travolta like
меч, щит, на
anyone else?
защиту,
Please.
одноручка, двуручное
definitely
оружие,
help with that.
качаются топоры,
the
там
trial.
двуручные мечи,
Can't forget about Rock
там
Road
секиры
Trials. So
разные.
this is 12-player content
Лук, если
coming in
играешь
this
с
chapter.
луком,
Not going to be talking
то
about this a
там
whole lot today,
стрельбу
but we will be showing
прокачиваешь.
it off
Темная
again as we get a
эльфийка.
little bit closer to
Где
chapter
темная эльфийка?
release.
And of course, as
Blackwood
always, we do
Prologue.
have a prologue quest for the chapter, and that'll be coming very soon, this
Всё, до
spring,
меня
for
допёрло.
everyone that is free as
Смотрите,
part of the base game,
вот
and
они
we'll have
написали
access to it when it comes live.
Blackwood Prologue,
And in addition,
coming
throughout the
soon,
rest of the year, we
весна
have
2021. То есть
the Q3 and Q4 DLC
Blackwood
graphics we have here
выходит
kind of shows you
у
the
нас
order of
весной.
things throughout the year.
Новое
The
DLC,
Q3
дополнение.
DLC will be a dungeon pack, and the
Dungeon,
Q4 DLC will be a
дополнение
story-based one that takes
новое
place in
данжена,
Deadlands.
бесплатный квест пролога, вступление,
And just in case you missed it,
Blackwood
so we showed it twice.
Part
There he
of
is
the
again.
Gates of
Yeah, we did
Oblivion.
release a brand
Это
new
часть
awesome
Врат
CG trailer for the chapter.
Обливиона.
You can watch it
То есть я
over
так
and over
понимаю,
and over
что
again.
скоро
We won't
выйдет
judge,
Event,
just to see Mayron's
он
Dagon.
называется Врата
Much to see life
Обливиона.
on YouTube.
Back.
А
Sorry, we're
сам
done.
Blackwood выйдет весной.
Well,
обновление, но оно... Короче, как вы понимаете, все дополнения в Teso, они платные. Вот в чем вся загвоздка. То есть сама игра платная, но есть по дешевке можно купить. Ее там 140 гривен где-то она стоит, 200, до 300 рублей русских. То есть это стандарт Edition, который включает Morrowind в себя, локацию. Ну, весь Тамриэль включает, в принципе. То есть доступен весь Тамриэль, но просто есть контент, который бесплатный, а есть контент, который платный. Именно сюжетный контент, он платный, типа. И получается, что игра, она не фри-то-плейная. Но ты, типа, купил дополнение, ну, и все, ну. То есть ты не тратишь там... То есть... Ну, смотрите, с чем сравнивать? Warframe. Ну, Warframe тоже фри-то-плейный. Но где-то можно платину купить, но можно и не покупать платину, можно ее и попродавать на маркете или на рынке. Ладно, Genshin, да, то есть если брать Genshin Impact в сравнение, ну, может быть, есть люди, которые покупают гемы, которые покупают батл пассы. Так же самое, как и Painter, но этот Battleground, тоже там батл пассы могут покупать платные. Но у тебя же никто не заставляет покупать платный Battle Pass. Ты же можешь играть в фри-то-плейную. 800 рублей стоит, а то Новый год стоила игра 300 рублей. А так 800 стоит? Ну, в общем-то, факт остается фактом. У нас выходит Blackwood весной, и у нас выходит новый маунт, новый крутой, офигеть, новый квест Дремор, броня Дремора, новый сюжет, новая локация, новые эмоции, новые сеты гладиатора, новая броня для питомцев. Ну, короче, это стандарт. Новая лока, новый ивент с новой локацией, с догоном. Обливион, который. Подписка, да. Пак Мобайл тоже есть подписка, но толку от нее ни скинов не дают нифига.
Which one do you want to get? This one. So this is the.
No, слушай.
It's been a long week, you know. It really has.
На PS4 Blackwood Collection. Но они, конечно, хитрожопые, я тебе скажу. Извините. Они еще на PS5 его и выпускают. На компьютер. На PS4. А, вот, смотри. Morrowind, Somerset, Elsewhere и Greymore. Это 4 дополнения, которые... Ну, в данный момент есть... Это именно полноценные дополнения. Morrowind, Somerset, Elsewhere и Greymore. Morrowind — это там, где Лорд Вивек. Somerset — это там, где эльфы, которые я еще не прошел. Elsewhere — это там, где хаджиты. Там, где кошки хаджиты. Там, где дракон, мировой босс. И Greymore — это западный Скайрим. Скайрим онлайн, короче. Локация. Там северный Скайрим и западный Скайрим есть. Это они показывают... Ну, это просто спутник. Ну, такой спутник, короче, медведь такой с подгоревшими лапами. Новый маунт. Новый маунт, который добавят в Блэквуде. Хотел зайти в Teso, сказали, иди ты на сервера отключены. Серьезно? Я тоже хотел зайти, Nintendo. Хорошо, что хоть трансляцию посмотрели. Так я думаю сыграть на днях.
So those will be
Завтра.
delivered at launch. And check out the Twitch channel
Продолжить.
right
И
below
Teso.
our
Ну, мы сейчас
stream
видишь, что мы
for a
Геншин
link to the
играем.
website to pre-purchase now, or you
И
can just visit
Teso, и в принципе я его не удаляю. У меня есть Destiny, Warframe в 5 сюда в
Right.
стрим.
All over the website.
Я вам скажу
Yeah.
больше. В
And again, you will
Destiny,
get that, really
ну,
cool
Destiny,
looking
вы же
mount
знаете
and
игру.
the
Так вот, в
very
Destiny новый сезон
right now,
начинается.
and everything else will be delivered at launch.
Ну, полностью новый
And that is
сезон, новый ивент.
Saw people asking about ESO
Новый
Plus. Now,
лор,
similar to
новые
previous
вещи.
years,
Ну,
if you're an
полностью,
ESO
типа.
Plus subscriber,
Ну, как в
then you
Destiny.
get the 3
Даже на
DLCs
сайте нельзя в аккаунт
included in
профиль
membership, so you
смотреть,
get
тоже
the
на
Ambition
Х
and the
послали
same
на
DLC
Teso
that is
онлайн.
released in Q3 and Q4. The chapter
На
you
Teso
can
онлайн
pre-purchase
official?
or purchase
В
after
аккаунт
it's
даже не
already been
пускают.
released
Ты в
into.
Steam не можешь зайти?
Let's talk
Может быть,
merch.
потому
We
что
have
ты
a
смотришь
lot of
Twitch?
ESO merchandise.
Может, потому что ты
Just like-
смотришь
Which one?
Twitch,
You know,
и
what we're
у
wearing.
меня
We're all
стрим
decked out in
смотришь, и у
merch here.
тебя это...
So we have, we want to go through everything that
Ну,
just went
память,
up today.
наверное.
A lot of things just went live for you to either purchase
Жесть.
or pre-purchase about an hour ago
Но
when the
Мира
stream
в папку
started. So
тащит
just to
там на
kind of
изи.
show everything off.
Катку.
First we have
Мирослав уже, наверное,
shirts.
научился
I'm gonna have to do
тащить
one of
в
these.
папку.
Yeah, you gotta kind of do
А,
it.
мерч новый. Ну, мерч, да,
So these are
футболку я
available
видел,
on
Blackwood
the
вашу.
Bethesda Gear Store.
Со значком Teso онлайн.
Nice thick material too.
It is
Змей,
nice.
который сам себя
We even
пожирает.
have this handsome fellow modeling a shirt a little bit better than Jess and I.
Да, и сколько эта футболка стоит? 50 баксов, блин?
Now, we also announced a
За просто за то, что там
really
написали
cool item
Blackwood
today
и значок
from our friends over at Nibben Forest.
Teso онлайн.
We're really excited to
Вот
reveal
ради...
on the stream
Я уверен,
our
она
new
стоит
Elder
50
Scrolls
баксов.
Online Nobles
Плюс
chair.
доставка с Америки.
Chair.
100 баксов
This
футбол.
is not available to purchase yet, but we did at least want to show it off. We were lucky enough
В
to
Steam
get
могу, в
one of
Teso
the
не могу зайти,
first
на сайте не
model
пускают в аккаунт, говорит, сервера недоступны.
So,
Я тоже хочу мерч 50
This-
баксов. Но у них так футболки
Right?
стоят в Америке.
Do you wanna
35
show
евро.
the
I could
back
even-
of it?
50 баксов
Yeah, he's got a
где-то.
little bit better
Может,
lighting
дороже.
than me. These chairs are
Это, я не знаю,
Like, this is honestly the
для
nicest
них
chair
50
I've ever owned.
баксов.
It's got these really nice details on the back that are so the gray is a fabric.
Ни
I don't know
хрена
how to
себе, у
describe
них-
it. It's like a wool felt or a wool.
У
And
них
then it's got
цены
embroidery
другие,
on the back
у них
there with
зарплаты другие,
metallic
Миро.
gold thread. I'm pointing at the screen like you guys can see. Yeah,
Nintendo.
all the threading
Это
is
кресло с
really
Teso
nice
онлайн.
gold thread embroidery, including on the back
Обалдеть.
there that were porous.
Нормально они мерч
Yeah.
замутили.
Gold
Да, я
accents
снайпер
are
в папку,
kind
у
of
меня
metallic,
никогда
but
не
it's
дропается.
really nice. It's a nice, pretty
Потому
chair.
сейчас сижу на среднем ранге. Хера себе.
And I gotta tell you,
Blanket
like,
back.
yeah, I gotta tell you,
Топовое
the backstory
кресло.
is incredible. I'm not
is nice.
slouching quite as much anymore.
Круто, да?
Yeah, and it's got, you know, the adjustable backrest, so if you wanted to go a little bit
Как они такое
back,
кресло
you can.
сделали?
If you like it really straight,
Я
Jess has
просто в
really good
шоке.
posture, so she likes her chair straight. I like
Не, но если это наклейки,
I like it
то
too,
это не
kind of
проблема.
all that
Наклейку
back support.
наклеить на
Also, I
кресло.
found this chair really easy to put together. I've had to really wrestle with computer chairs.
Да,
in the
скорее
past,
всего, это
especially
наклейки,
putting
потому
together, like, the
что...
top and the bottom,
Ну
seat
как-то, как
part,
они, как
the
можно...
cushions, and
Yep.
this was super easy to put together.
Это, вот,
So,
So,
really
Noble,
nice chair.
это я...
Noble Chairs is actually
Блин,
running a giveaway right now. You can try and win. Yes, chat, it is
Да
comfy.
я не
that is
понимаю.
literally what I was talking about earlier during the pre-show when,
Yeah.
boy, everyone could hear
Settling
our
down
sound
and
checks.
getting
Special
comfy.
edition.
Yep, planting myself right
Special
here, getting
edition.
comfy in this chair.
Покупайте Special
So, yeah,
Edition
if you
Teso
head
с
to,
креслом вместе с доставкой.
Is it the Noble Chairs
Пошла реклама,
Twitter
мерч.
account? Is that where they're doing
Мерча.
the giveaway?
50 баксов
Yeah,
за
I think they
простую
have a
футболку.
website that you
Просто-
can enter,
Да, ты
but
знаешь, сколько
go to
стоит
their
футболка
Twitter
DE
account
с
and
лотосом? 100
find
баксов.
that post.
And
I
if
think
you
we
want
may
to
have also
be,
retweeted it.
I think you're right, I saw it.
Ну да, так
If
выходит.
you want to be notified when
Ну, там
you can
доставка
pre-order these
дорогая.
chairs, if you just go
Там
to
доставка с Канады, с
noblechairs.com/ESO,
Америки
they
дороже
have a
стоит, чем
form
сама
there, and you'll be
футболка.
notified as soon as these are available for pre-order. So we were lucky enough to get a couple for the stream today. and
Thank
we
you,
hope
Noble
that,
Chairs.
Thank you so much.
Все?
So nice. They do ship internationally. I see some people
Yes.
asking.
Вот
so this
как
is not
девки
a North
пляшут.
America thing. I think they're actually based in
Бабло
Japan.
They
зарабатывают.
are.
на-
There.
Не просто так. Что?
Next, we have that statue that comes in the really cool bundle. So, I actually have a
Сейчас
statue
расскажут
here
что-то
we can
про...
show. So this is the Mayron's Dagon.
Про этого Дагона.
It's heavy. It's a
Если бы
very-
я купил мерч,
got
то
a
мой
really
первый
good
мерч
heft to
Будет с NFS 2015,
So
скорее
here it is.
всего.
So you can kind of see, you know, the general
Как
size
монитор.
of the statue, and it is extremely
Реально?
heavy. It has some weight to it. So
Ну,
there we go. I'll try and get.
He looks so
I'll make it-
angry.
I mean,
The
wouldn't you be
expression's
angry?
really good.
но если
you
сильно
be if-
постараться, можно найти в хорошем
Everyone was coming to attack you, and the back is just as
Миру.
detailed, which is really nice. And you can
У
see
меня
here all
монитор
of the
дешевле
items
стоит.
that come in this bundle. So not only do you get the statue, you
Там,
also get an ambitions token
там
showing the
просто
front
в
and back
Америке
there,
дороже,
and a Marion Stegon lithograph that you
цены
can
дороже,
hang in your
и
bedroom.
доставка дорогая,
Yep. So
и
whenever
цены
you
дороже. И
pre-purchase
надо
the
смотреть на
statue,
сайте,
all of that together.
на сайте, где мерч продают.
And that's not all. So we also have
Но у нас, я тебе
calling them
скажу, что тоже
ambitions
цены нифига не
artifacts.
дешевые. Ну, дешевле,
I'm
понятно,
gonna try and
чем
pick these up without
в Штатах.
ruining the puzzle because they do.
It is a
Естественно.
puzzle.
It is a puzzle. So the puzzle is together, and
Можно
I'm not going to put
за
it
эти деньги
apart yet because it took forever
что-то
to do this.
You finally
is,
got it?
купить
it
себе.
is truly a puzzle. So this is kind of what they look like in puzzle form. But
Что
all of
такое?
these pieces kind of come apart.
А, это
And in
наколка.
this screenshot, you can kind of see the middle part
О,
is
вот
what it
это
looks like when
мелочь,
they're
но
together,
приятно.
and then the four
Ну как?
individual pieces are
Наколка
surrounded
себе
by
на
that.
байку, на
That's pretty cool.
футболку.
And they are
these
metal.
Yep. And these are
As you can-
related to the
Медальки,
chapter,
медальки.
and you will find out.
Наверное, по
how
10 баксов
when you play
точно стоит, по 15.
So yeah, like I'm
Ну,
not going to show
монитор
you how to
дешевле
do
на
it,
50,
but like here's a
чем
piece,
какая-то тряпка.
and you can see on the back they have what looks like
Это либо магнитики на холодильник, либо,
Places for
the
other
little
либо
pieces where they
на
go in.
футболку при это самое.
So no spoilers
На холодильник, да.
for how to
10
solve the
баксов.
puzzle, but it was pretty tricky. It wasn't just a quick like.
Хочешь
just put it
анекдот
together and
расскажу?
you're done. So
Анекдот, знаешь?
good for
Короче,
I don't know, that neighbor's
приезжает
house
чувак в салон.
You're like, oh, what's this? And you're like, oh, go ahead and do it. See what it is.
Славута, знаете
Try it
такой
out.
автомобиль?
bodies.
Ну,
Next
короче,
we have a
Запорожец.
Dwarven Constellation Cube. Now this
Запорожец
is also a
такой.
prototype, but
Приезжает в салон,
one
там,
here
в
to
Тойоту,
show
там,
off. So this is
Mitsubishi.
about the size of it.
И
Again, has
говорит,
good weight
сколько
to it.
стоит тонировка
You can kinda see
окон?
the
Он
detail.
такой ему, мастер этот,
Twice the
который,
focus.
говорит, 50
And
баксов.
what's cool
А
about
тот,
this, underneath,
ну,
it
тот
lights up.
приехал на
I'm not going to be
Поршике,
able to see
на
it super
запорике.
well since I have this light on.
Говорит,
but
а диски титановые,
there
сколько?
is a
50
light
баксов.
turn on and off. Yep.
А
And there's
аудиосистема
different
сколько стоит?
constellations on each
50
side, which is
баксов.
also pretty cool.
А там шины там
Straight
поставить, там,
from
то
your
50 баксов.
favorite
А покрасить только 50
Dwarven
баксов.
ruins.
Да ты гонишь, да ты первый начал.
We
Now we
also
do
have.
have-
Oh,
Go ahead,
oh, sorry.
Jess.
Go ahead.
I was
we
going to
also
say
have
the same thing
a-
you
Вспомнил
do.
про 50
We
баксов.
also have a couple really
анекдот.
beautiful pieces of art, including the Blackwood.
Да вот они уже мерч
lithographs, the
толкают,
brand
вон уже
new
на
piece of
стенку
art
обои.
for the Blackwood Chapter.
Можно пойти тоже
You may have seen it in
на
some of
флешку
our
закачать эти
other promotional pieces for
обои,
this
пойти
announcement.
на полиграф-сервис и
And
распечатать
this
себе
will be
на
available
стенку.
for pre-purchase on the
Wallpaper.
Bethesda store. Yep. We also have a brand new art collection coming out in
Прикольно,
collaboration
прикольно,
with Cook and
красиво.
Becker. There are different sizes that you can order. These are limited quantities, and you can choose to get them either framed, like you see here, or unframed.
Ну, это картина,
It
фактически
features a lot of different
картина.
art from ESO over the years. A lot of the
Ну,
DLC
красиво,
art. I think there's
красиво.
one from
Я-
when we were.
Я согласен с
it was
этим, что
around
красиво.
lunchtime. So, yeah, if you're a
Обои
fan
прикольные,
of- I know
надеюсь,
Lucas
скачать
did a lot
такое
of
они хоть
these
бесплатно
art
дают.
pieces. He was on ESO Live.
Да есть куча в Гугле.
Back when we were still in the office, at least, it's been a little while.
Еще туалетной
Really
бумаги не
But
хватает с
they do
надписью
ship
Teso.
internationally as well.
А я уверен, что есть такая бумага Nintendo. Так, я иду себе чай пока сделаю по
And last
шурику.
but not
Я на телефоне.
least, we have a prize pack.
Да
Actually,
это
a few
можно
prize
реально
packs
скачать
from
обои такие себе,
Alienware.
пойти на
Alienware was
полиграф.
gracious enough to give us
Вот
some
смотри.
items to give away in prize
О,
packs. Here are some of
это
them
ж этот,
here.
Alienware.
And you can go to the official
Вот это
ESO
крутая фирма.
Twitter account,
Alienware
online,
называется.
and enter for
М.
this giveaway. This is also
Клава
a
такая
giveaway.
крутая, Клава
It's
прикольная.
like Oprah right now. We're just giving away so much stuff
All
today
the
in
things.
celebration.
Телефоне
There's a lot of
включать, да.
stuff. But there's
So
one more
thank you,
thing.
Alienware.
О, какой цвет
you
такая
know what?
бумага
Actually,
будет?
I think Finn.
На разработке?
We'll look later. But I think once we get Finn on, he actually has all the Alienware goodies behind him, and I
Yep.
think they set them up really nicely. So
Yeah.
we'll take a look. So thank you, Alienware, so much for allowing us to do these amazing prize pack
Yeah.
giveaways.
And lastly, the gear store for North America and Europe is running a sale right now, 20% off all ESO in-stock merchandise, which is pretty exciting. So this is automatically applied to in-stock items. You don't need to use a code or anything. It's super simple, running until January 27th at midnight Eastern time. So if you need links, again, check out the buttons at the bottom of our stream. They should be all right there. But don't leave the stream. Don't worry, everything is running until the 27th, so you can get 20% off any in-stock item. Now, since we can, we have another giveaway winner that we want to show off.
Yes. Next.
Who do you think it is? I hope it's me, because it's some really cool stuff. We have Backyard Zoo. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
On winning a whole bunch of this stuff that we just talked about. You get your own.
Tell us how long it takes you to complete the puzzle.
All right. We are going to move on talking a little bit about Gates of Oblivion, and we do want to bring our lead encounter designer, Mike Finnegan, on to join us for a little bit. If he's here. If not, it's cool.
Hi, Finn.
There he is.
Hello.
I'm glad you didn't
Good
leave.
to see ya.
Oh, speak of the Alienware stuff.
Hey,
there
yeah.
it is right behind me. Look at that.
So it's all ready to be shipped out to the lucky winners.
Oh, there we go.
Are you gonna-
We have a
Oh,
special guest.
Hi,
there you
Wayne.
go.
It's
Hi,
Vanna Wayne. Vanna
Vanna
Wayne.
Wayne. That's right.
Aw, I miss everybody.
I know. I know.
I am at the office.
I
FYI.
know.
Yeah.
Finn
Yeah,
is
so-
distancing at the office.
Finn was kind enough to trek to the office for this stream and for you all.
We just wanted to make
So-
sure he was using a headset that, you know, was better than
Right.
the one at home.
That doesn't sound like a prank phone call,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Doesn't
gosh.
sound like a
Okay,
stream
so
movie.
Gates of Oblivion. So
Yes.
the Gates of Oblivion is our year-long story this year.
Yeah.
If you're new with us, we've been doing a year-long story for the last few years now. I actually can't remember when we started.
2 years ago, I think. I
Yeah.
think it started with Elsewhere. I think it
Yeah.
started with Elsewhere and then carried next
I think
year.
you're
All
right.
Jinx.
So what this is that there's a story that starts in the first quarter of the year and
Right.
continues on throughout the year, with the bulk of the story being in the chapter, which will be Blackwood this year.
Right.
And that does also include our Gates of Oblivion hashtag, which we will be using on all of our social channels throughout the year. So Gates of Oblivion takes place in the Blackwood chapter about 800 years before the Oblivion Crisis.
Right.
This is our own Mehron's Dagon story, and it touches on one of his many attempts to conquer Tamriel.
Indeed.
Now, he hasn't quite figured out the science behind the gates you saw in Test 4, right, Mike?
Right. You will see what I think Rich alluded to it in the video, the portals, and these are. It's like the alpha or the beta of a game. Like, he hasn't got it figured out yet. He's kind of throwing it
There's
out there. It's
bugs.
not really feature complete yet. There's a little bit of bugs. It's not working quite right yet. So you guys get to be beta testers for Mehron's Dagon's destruction of Tamriel. Rats.
Nice.
Congrats.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So just a
So
reminder.
these...
Go ahead,
Oh,
Justin.
go ahead.
You first.
I was just going to continue on talking about the portals. What did you have to
Right.
say?
Nothing. Nothing important. You know, I was just going to talk about getting comfy.
We'll do it live.
Hey, that's on the bingo card.
It is on the bingo
Somebody
card.
was going to do it. I knew somebody was going to say
I hope
it.
that gave somebody their bingo.
There you go. There you go.
So, Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Oblivion portals?
Sure. They pop up in the region of Blackwood randomly, seemingly randomly. You're not going to know where they're going to pop up, and they pop up, and when you enter them, you go to actually a little pocket of the Deadlands. You do
Ooh.
whatever it is you need to do in there. I'm not going to spoil it, so you guys can figure out what it is.
So a little Deadlands adventure.
Yeah, a little Deadlands mini adventure. The idea behind them is they're going to feel a little bit like a public dungeon, but they're spontaneous, kind of how they pop up, and there's a lot of wrinkles that we throw into it. And the reward structure is kind of like what you would expect from Dark Anchors or Hero Storms or something like that. Those are kind of the rewards that you're going to get out of these things. But you got to kind of seek them out and find them. You're not going to know exactly when they're going to pop up or where they're going to be.
Cool. And just a reminder, the Blackwood Chapter will be out for PC, Mac, Stadia, Steam on June 1st, and Xbox and PlayStation on June 8th. Doesn't feel that long.
It
Feel
does
that
not.
far away.
It is not that far away. You know what else isn't that far away?
Just yesterday was February, right? Like February 2020,
It feels like it.
right?
Gina's trying to do a really nice segue.
I was trying. You totally ruined it.
Sorry.
It's fine.
So sorry.
No, it's
Sorry.
cool. It's fine.
Let's go back in time. What were you saying, Gina?
I don't even remember.
You know what else
Oh
is
my
coming up soon?
You know what else is coming up soon? Is update 29 is even sooner.
Oh, yes, it is.
That is soon.
What-
So,
What's it called?
Flames of Ambition. I almost said the wrong
Yes,
name.
it is. Yeah, that's good.
I had
You
to
almost called
stop
it
for a
Flames
second.
of Oblivion, didn't you? You almost called it Flames of Oblivion.
I always say it. I always do that. But not today. Darn
Not
it.
today.
Not today. All
Then
right,
we'd
so
have Boo and Goo.
let. Oh, you went there. You went there. Goo is the latest year-long adventure.
Yep.
Anyway,
It sure is.
let's talk update 29. So, anyone who's familiar with our PTS cadence knows the PTS is coming up soon, especially since we've announced all this stuff today. You know it's coming, right? When do you think
sooner
it's
than you
coming?
think.
When do you think? Probably on Monday, because that's when we do our maintenances, right?
Right? That's usually
Right.
it.
No,
That's what
no,
you would
we're
think.
we're gonna go nuts and actually do it tomorrow morning.
What?
You do not have to
Yep.
wait long because update 29 is coming tomorrow to PTS. So
That's crazy.
I know it is. I know. Trust me. I know.
My mind
Banana
is blown.
pants.
Right?
Banana pants.
Crazy.
So maintenance for that is going
Are
to be
you saying-
starting.
Are you saying FOA is coming tomorrow?
FOA is
Yeah.
tomorrow on Wednesday.
Okay.
So maintenance is going to be starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time. I know a lot of you know that usually for our first PTS maintenance it takes a little bit longer. We have to do a full character copy for NA characters. And don't forget, that is going to include a full skill point reset based on the forum post that we posted. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, kind of explaining why we need to do a skill point reset. So be on the lookout. We'll be publishing patch notes, God willing, in the morning if I can get my act together and get them all done.
A lot of notes.
We'll do it.
A lot of notes.
We'll do it. We'll make it
So-
happen.
A lot of notes.
We want to give you kind of a first look at these dungeons that are going to be coming to PTS tomorrow for update 29. And that's why Finn is here, to show us
That is
more.
why I'm here.
I mean, we also enjoy your company, but
Always.
we need you to guide us through these dungeons.
But we don't need my company in front of all of these people.
It makes everything better, Mike.
Наконец-то игровой процесс пошел.
That's very kind of you to say.
То все бухает, бухает.
Wow.
So we're not going to show any spoilers. We're not going to show you how to beat the bosses. We're not going to spoil the story. This is just kind of a sneak peek on what these two dungeons look like. Kind of the first step into the Gates of Oblivion
Yep.
story.
And I am on an internal server, and I am going to be using developer commands to kind of.
Пока
skip
прилетит
past
днюха, закончится,
just
придется
so-
обратно отправить.
You can give
So
me a
don't
little
think
tour.
that don't think that this is like a special ability you're going to get next.
Part of the update?
Yeah, it's not
No,
when
it's
FOA goes live. You're not gonna get these special abilities.
All
Ух ты, это новая броня?
I guess before you
Where are we
start
gonna-
Новый
off,
сет.
how do these dungeons sort of tie into the larger
Ты
Gates of
помнишь, какой
Oblivion
уровень у
story?
тебя там? Тессо.
So much like we did
20
with
какой-то.
Harrowstorm and Rastone, you're going to learn things in both of these dungeons, which are going to put them together in the prologue. It gives you context for what's happening.
Не, ну
to
кресло реально
actually,
топовое.
as I go into the dungeons,
Ну
to
хотя,
show you the
как
dungeons.
Мирослав говорил,
I
что
do wanna touch
истинный
on where
игрок
these
в КС
are.
может на табуретке
The
играть
first dungeon
и
is in
тащить на
Dishon.
изикатку.
You notice this? It's on the western part of Dishon.
Вот показывают новый
The dungeon's
данж.
called the Cauldron.
Каудрон.
And the next dungeon is in Gold Coast. That one's not bad.
Новый данж.
Gold Coast, and it's right up here. And that one's
Dungeon
called
Black Drake
Villa. Go
Will.
to that one in a second.
Drake, Black Drake.
So you
but
can
first-
just walk up to these
Yes.
Or
Кто этот
you-
мужик? А ну выгоните его нахрен.
If you don't have a ESO Plus and you don't have the
Это ведущий
Dark Brotherhood
энкаунтер
DLC, you would only be able to
дизайнер.
enter them by clicking on- you would only be able to enter this dungeon by clicking on the
Ведущий
icon.
дизайнер Teso.
But if you do have ESO Plus,
А женщины
have
это
Dark Brotherhood
директоры по комьюнити-менеджеры,
and Deshaun is
как
in
Ребекка.
the base game, so you can watch
А он дизайнер уровней.
So,
Which one are you
Я
gonna go
истинный
first?
дотер на табуретке играю и тащу.
Because you're here.
This is
You're right
Только
here.
истинные
Yeah,
тащеры в
I'm
КС
just-
играют на табуретках.
This is where we get to
Вот
meet-
level
you saw the
дизайн,
trailer, you
новые
saw the Gamora, that Gamora
подземелья,
was
данжон.
we talked a little bit about it
Называется
in the reveal
Калдрон.
trailer. She
Калдрон.
is a
Калдрон.
fan favorite. She was in the base game. She was in Imperial City. She actually was I believe she was the quest giver in White Gold Tower. So you saw her at this point, and she shows up here and guides you kind of on this path to help this weakling out. So
Осторожно,
basic
спойлера, да?
story behind the cauldron is
Ну, это,
this group of
в
dark
принципе, не
elves
сюжетные.
and this guy.
Не
The
думаю,
village
что...
has been raided by followers of Baron Dagon, and he doesn't know why, but he's here to get his
Хотя
family back.
это
Now, Lyran
частично
has made a
сюжет.
bargain with him. She needs
Может быть.
something
Хотя данж какой
to
сюжет. Не, ну
ride
может быть,
out of this
ладно.
location, but she cannot access
Но
it
не
herself.
сильно.
That's very
So-
on brand for her.
Yes, yes.
She's-
So she
she's
needs
my
a
favorite.
portal, right?
Побрился
She
бы
needs
только
a
алкаш.
portal to do that. So she has agreed to help
Соседний.
him, this weakling of a dark elf.
Don't worry, I see chats like, I thought you said no spoilers. This is
Интересно.
just literally the
Это не
beginning.
спойлер,
This
она
is
говорит.
literally
Yeah.
the beginning. She just wants a particular
Это
item.
не
and she's agreed to
спойлер.
help him, and
Не боись.
that's as far as we're gonna go. So you get
Я
to
тебе
figure out
купил
what it
антилайт,
is
иди
she wants,
побрейся.
how that plays into the story.
Я тоже всю свою жизнь играю на
You're
табуретке.
gonna find, and again, I am
18 левел в Teso.
You're cheating.
these monsters. Yes, I'm cheating. These
Вот такой
are,
игровой процесс миру.
special,
Это
followers of Baron
футаж,
Dagon.
как они говорят.
They are members
Футаж,
of a cult
геймплей.
called Waking Flame.
Игровой процесс
And
игры
you're going
именно.
to
Вот такая
be able
графика
to
в
see
игре.
some regular danger creatures, and you
Naturally.
get this really cool new watcher up here.
Можно играть от первого лица, видеть оружие, а можно играть от третьего
Chat,
лица.
I see you asking what he's
Ну и
wearing.
биться
and we
от
are
третьего
going to show
лица
you.
и от
We
первого
will
лица.
When
talk
we get
about
into
that.
some better
Yes,
lighting,
as
yep.
typical.
Огурца и
as
бутылку
typical, I am
водки
wearing
дайте ему
stuff
станет.
for
Got you.
new dungeons.
Феде.
We need dungeons, so
Федор
I will
Михайлович.
go over that
Yep.
exactly.
They noticed.
Yep. So we're going
Федор.
to. This dungeon is a classic,
ничего.
more classic dungeon experience. that we've
Они
had,
хакнули
that we have,
Teso.
than some of our newer things. So some of our other newer dungeons have had like 3 bosses, 3 hard mode. This one has 5 bosses with a hard
Разрабы.
mode, activatable hard mode at the end. So it's a much more
Киньте
classic
в ут.
experience. The other dungeon, Black Villa, actually is 3 bosses, 3
Ми-
hard mode.
Разрабы,
So I'll give
киньте
you
в
an
ут
idea of
уже.
some of the visuals in here. This is what these guys, what the followers of Baron
Интересно
Dagon
миру,
are doing
а
is
эта
part of
игра
this
Last Day, она
story
еще
of
поддерживается?
what they're doing. So you have to
Play
kind of
Market,
figure it
yeah.
out as you go.
Last Day Nurse.
We're not going to tell you.
No, we
Yeah,
are not.
not
this
today.
This is just cool. It's funny because we give kind of an idea for the story for dungeons a lot of times. If we go to our world builders and our stuff. our
Он
world
говорит,
builders
что добавили новый лор, новую историю в
and he like
данж,
consistently just knocks it out of the park.
но вместе с этим
We didn't
они
say,
говорят, что это типа
you
не
know,
спойлер,
oh,
то,
we
что они
did-
показывают,
we
просто
want
игровой
this,
процесс.
like,
Так, я так понял.
puppeteering kind of thing.
Этот
We
челик
didn't
стрима на
ask
самом
for that
деле
at all. He just
когда-то
kind of
был
put it
титаном,
together.
а теперь просто разраб.
Yeah, it does.
А
So,
вот и портит.
yeah, he really knocked it out of the park in this dungeon as well. And you go through different parts
Так,
of this
я,
dungeon.
я
to
боюсь
kind of,
представить, что,
see, so initially this kind of looks
когда
like,
мы смотрим
you know,
девстрим
like Wemmer Cave, right? This is
с
Deshaun, this
DE,
stuff you've
разработанный
seen.
Warframe.
This doesn't look all that different.
Там одна Ребекка
And,
и
but
куча
eventually you kind of transition
дядьки
into
сидят.
other
Там
parts.
Стив,
Variety
тот
of stuff.
Джиоф,
I mean,
Пол,
you
по-моему.
have to,
Тот в
because we
гараже,
are-
дядька такой
there would
бородатый.
be no spoilers, so no pressure.
Помнишь на
Yeah, yeah, I
девстриме?
meant story-wise,
Там машина у него на
how-
заднем плане в
how
гараже.
deep it gets into the story. This is the next boss
Такой
is
у
a
него там комп в гараже, там.
And after you, I'll probably
Разрабы.
grab this one.
За Last Day, хз, я
Think
думаю,
you hear it
поддерживается и
transition
будет
to the
поддерживаться,
next
пока
part,
будет
you get a
аудитория.
little bit more idea of what the story is. Lyra had journeyed ahead
Да,
to
да.
find out what's going on, and she's probably going to talk about the story. Let's go ahead.
Run away.
So you get to venture forward, and
О,
have to
новый вот
travel this
как раз
lava-like
вот уровень
path.
Обливиона.
Yeah. There's
Ну,
stuff. You know, Marin's Day
кто
got
бегал
followers.
по
They are
западному
attracted to
Скайриму?
lava. They're like-
Похоже,
they're like Darth Vader.
подземный город.
So-
Ну, тут все
I mean, he's
такое
physically. Never mind. Anyways,
инфернальное.
So,
Moving on.
people that are looking at kind of what I'm
Ну,
wearing and stuff.
ну,
The
в стиле,
skin that I have on here is the unlockable
в стиле
skin
Моровинда.
for completing this dungeon on
Да
better.
они хотя бы харизматичные личности, а этот серьезный какой-то сидит, серьезную дядьку
Applied to all
показывает.
your characters. The armor
Серьезную
is the
дядьку.
armor that drops in this dungeon, and that
Какой
helmet,
интересный за
which
серьезный
looks
100
so
уровня.
cool, is actually the
Не, ну,
monster
бронька,
undaunted helmet
бронька
that
крутая,
you
реально.
get from this dungeon.
Бронька офигеть какая. Как Властелин
I
колец.
guess he
на
has,
сгу.
like,
It's a good one.
Слушай, они
little
срубали
cutouts
с
on the
Властелина колец, по-моему, эту
No,
броню.
he doesn't. He doesn't.
С
He
Назгула
dies.
сняли.
Where we're
It's just
going,
that
Overrated.
awesome.
we
Да он
don't
не серьезно
need
вообще,
eyes.
просто прикидывается им. Он думает, что
I
беспалево.
guess.
He has magic eyes.
Yeah, he's it's a really unique boss that uses sonar, so it's just this loud screech into your ears the entire time. Yeah, we went above and beyond. Did
So
something
you,
different this
so
time.
you do the VO.
Она говорит,
Yeah,
типа,
right, I
как
do.
получить эту
What
эту
are you trying to
броню?
say?
А он
Oh,
говорит,
look at that.
типа, вот убьешь
Stay with
босса
us.
и получишь эту
So
So you
броню.
can show the next dungeon.
Yes, yes. So
И
that's
тут
all
она
I'm
типа
gonna show you
начинает
as far as the
смеяться.
bosses are concerned here. But if I say you go through this lava cave and you end up in another place, and it reveals kind of
Ты
this.
смотри, на него
story
какой-то
of
серьезный,
what's
как
going
будто
on
сейчас рыбу поймает
and
с озера.
how exactly you could stop it. And then at the very end, it reveals what Lyrinth was doing here and how Travis was the quest NPC that you saw work out, how he plays into it.
And this story kind of ties into the story in the next dungeon we're going to take a look at
Absolutely.
too, right?
Yes, they both. But these are like two halves of the same story, kind of like the rest.
You can do them in any order.
Halves. Yep, you can do them in any order. And when you do the prologue, if you have done the dungeons, these NPCs, Lyrinth and the NPC in Blackfin Villa, may.
Ну, хоть показали хоть геймплей немного,
may show up.
чуть-чуть.
And that's
I gotta
where we
tell you,
start.
Lyrinth is my favorite. I love how sassy she is.
Lyrinth is a very unique character in that,
Yes.
and it's very. It's
Что вы там курите, бля, я тоже хочу. Удочка, где поймает рыбу в игре и схавает ее. Удочка, где дядя?
Right? We have a lot of characters that are like, yeah, I just want to do this because it's the right thing to do. Lyrinth is not that. Lyrinth is
Слушайте,
like,
Майк
I have
Финниган
a
это
motive here, and I don't care
ведущий
if Gabrielle-
дизайнер
I just want my
уровней.
peace of mind.
She's like, is
Вот
it
так
useful
вот.
to me? Are you
На
useful to me?
секундочку.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And she makes no qualms about it.
Right,
Ну,
exactly.
Chat is
Now-
cracking me
это
up right now.
типа
Really?
Chat
в
is like,
арке
how did Mike manage to break
арт-директор.
another
как
headset?
его. Такой
What?
светлый.
Just because your audio is going in and out.
А, ну вот уже Blackwood наконец.
Wow.
Ну покажите.
Let's.
Now you
Alright,
won't
anyways.
prepare
Not
chat.
supposed to eat it.
Что он употребляет?
Sorry.
Что вы употребляете там?
Alright, so where are we headed next?
We are now in Black Drake Villa.
О,
So
это
this
футаж
is,
уже с
again,
Блэквуда.
in the northern section of
Блэквуда новый данж.
just south of Cyrodiil.
Девушка прикидывается,
And
что
this
им
is
интересно
Black
с
Drake
этим
Villa.
телеком,
For
но это не
those
так.
lorehounds out there, they may
Он
recognize
вкинулся.
the name of the Black Drake. He was the first of the Longhouse
Nintendo, он поедает снюс.
He's the one who gathered the Reachmen and marched across the land and sacked Cyrodiil and became the first of the Longhouse Emperors. Well, when he did that, he set up a little summer home.
Особенно той вверху
called
интересно.
Blackfin Villa.
That's nice.
And as the
Вот той вот
Longhouse
вверху
Emperors
разрабу,
kind
она
of remained in control, this became
сама
their,
интересность просто.
yeah, their
Вот это
summer.
вот
Their
посередине, то
southern
видно,
house
что
they
ее цепануло,
passed down,
короче.
the Black Drake,
Цепануло
and so
так
on
нормально.
down to Leovic, and for
Что-то
those people that have played
вставило. А
Imperial
это
City,
вот
they may
сверху
recognize
она
Leovic as the dead guy in the chair in the sewers.
такая.
But we are here for a very
Может, у них
specific
уже
purpose, and our
скоро
good friend Emily Sharper.
поздно?
Hey.
Yay.
Real quick, I saw somebody asking if they
Вот
don't have
Netflix
access
зашли
to
на
full
чат
house, if they can
Твича
still
после
access this
вкидания
dungeon.
поедания.
Yes, you can.
Absolutely. You can either click
Хевели
on
Sharp
the
Arrow. А, вот новый перс.
icon for the dungeon
Новый перс сюжетный.
from the world map, or you can use the Dungeon Finder as long as you have the DLC, this DLC unlocked.
С дополнения, да, говорит?
Use the Dungeon Finder in location. So
Yep.
absolutely.
So yeah,
And
in
if you
order to
have
access.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say.
Так
In
вы
order to
купите
access
сначала подписку
specific dungeons and
Teso
DLCs, you just need to own that DLC or have access to it through ESO
и
Plus,
дополнение Blackwood.
rather than access to the zone that it's in, if that makes sense.
Ну да, да,
Yep.
да. Доступ.
You just wouldn't be able to walk up to it.
Всё
but
правильно.
There's other ways.
Yep, absolutely. So this is Emily, and she is going to be your friend here. So I'm not gonna
Абсолютно 600 рублей.
story. I'll give you the basis for the story is a
Давай иди уже в данж
benefactor
покажи.
has told her to come here to recover a book. So
Че, водичку
what
подтянули
the
немного?
Longhouse Emperor
Я смотрю, а вы слышали, что Warframe теперь уже DirectX 11 минимум? Слышали? Там новости у Машка. Видели? Я кидал в Discord. Короче, даже не 11, а 12. DirectX 12. И у кого DirectX 10, оно даже не запустится уже. Она не поддерживается в Warframe. Только на DirectX 11 там теперь минимум запускается. И там, по-моему, обнова в Варфе должна быть какая-то. Сжатие какое-то.
Oh, get him out.
There's a lot of fire.
Да. Короче, Warframe теперь весит, по-моему, 25 гиг. 25, что-то такое. Подписку. Ну да, подписка платная. Но они, по-моему, в начале января раздавали подписку на Teso. Смотри. Вот разраб, а?
Internal
Не хочет
only
биться.
developer commands, yeah.
Читер, блин. Давай босса тоже, давай читать. Давай тоже хакни его. 100 тысяч урона. Подозрение, что он сейчас точно ведет код какой-то. Да, это прикинь.
Yeah, I have a feeling he won't just step aside and be like, oh, go ahead.
Стака урона.
Keep going.
Go ahead, go right through.
Hey, want a tour?
So, there's a lot of
Можно я тоже буду так играть?
in here that where you can see,
Читак.
you know, some of the people
Сейчас
that
ему
made
вак
the story
прилетит,
here,
чекайте.
they've been left dead. We tried to really build this up and sell it as, you know, this was a Roman villa that was lived in and stuff like that. So even before you go through the sewer grate to get into the dungeon, you can run along the vineyards and stuff like that and see kind of how.
Капец он
So,
продвигает
but
читерство.
we are going to take this door is blocked. It's locked. Can't get in there, so we're going to take this entrance, this walkway, and we are going to go
Ну,
underneath. And this is where you start to see what's happened.
типа, чтобы сэкономить время и
You ever
типа
notice that people
показать
love leaving their cellars unlocked?
саму локу, типа,
You know,
в этом плане.
I try not to judge people.
Так он может себе и урон накрутить таким же. Где баланс?
Scared of tornadoes.
Из-за таких, как он, существуют читеры.
Yes, they do, so we can ransack them.
Где баланс?
All right.
Димон.
So you can see here that this is the library, and it is
Oh,
on
no.
fire. So you can see that the
Oh,
vents
the
and the
books.
roof. This is where
Они
the
новую
smoke is
локу
coming from
показывают в Блэквуде, новый данж.
That sucks.
Свитки онлайн.
These guys
Новая обнова Блэквуд.
are
где
pretty cool, like arsonist.
Там, где родина органианов, ящерицы.
I like the like.
И новый данж они показывают. А перед этим они показывали Врата Обливиона, новый данж тоже.
And they have this little flame hounds that they've set.
Ну и так, если коротко.
Oh wow.
And this guy's like burning this whole.
Yeah, he's just standing there and he's like,
Yeah, he is. He's
Just
just
burn
like,
this whole
he
book
doesn't
in.
У
have
него
to do
что,
much.
типа
They
инвиз?
just said stand there and look pretty, and he's like, cool.
Читак. Смотри. Столько урона.
I had to kill those guys because the door's locked. Otherwise, Emily's
Это
gonna
он
come
типа
in
в
and
соло
say,
данж
"Oh my gosh,
проходит.
they're burning the entire library."
oh no.
Make it stop.
Again, more cool scenery here for stuff on fire, library burning,
К ним он мог показать, на что способен босс, а на него...
Those are cool.
Great
Oh, is
question.
that a spoiler?
What indeed? Moving
К ним
along,
кто
moving
еще
along.
будет туда
I think it's
заходить
here.
на
Still
стрим?
alive. I think there's fire ghosts. Yeah, there's
Кто со
Not
своим
anymore.
burning
вас.
specters. Yeah, so you kind of make your way through.
Так,
the,
смотри-ка онлайн.
uh,
89
library,
493 зрителя
and-
онлайн на Твиче. 89 493.
enemies here.
Сейчас
The,
Твич смотрит, смотри.
incinerator,
Стрим покажу.
the last boss is there. He kind of sets
Три.
up a flame wall, prevents you from getting anywhere. Sends his enemies. to
Что они пишут? New class, then can't wait.
burning specter.
My vamp will struggle here.
Chat's
Come
like,
on,
how do,
guys.
Fire
how do we
dog,
save
nice
the
hounds.
books?
It looks so
Well,
one shot
you
game
might be
balance.
able to save
То же самое, что Лимонная Тянка писал.
not all of
Тимон.
them, mind you.
Где
This is
баланс?
cool. Emily learned a trick.
Is this your never fail to?
Got water arrows.
Have you already shoot many?
Yay. She knocks
Read
that fire
all
out,
the
get through there.
bookcases.
She's gonna take the
So-
high
so
road.
glad
she's
I
gonna
was
take the low road.
Mind
So you get to-
blown.
it's pretty cool because you get to come in here and you see her she's
Yay.
walking up
Oh.
top and she's like, "Hey, I found something
My
up
poor
here."
vamp.
That might have been. It might be.
Сейчас зайдет Гейб и Ньювал и забанит его.
Hey, I found some stuff up here. We'll meet together and find out what it was.
А как звать этого главного директора Bethesda?
She's searching, you're searching.
То, что ты говоришь, Гейб и Ньювал, это, по-моему, Valve, да? Half-Life. Как же этого звать? Смотри, опять он чит ввел, блин.
Cool dungeon.
Those are really nice. Are those
Crowns,
Imperial?
please, I really
They
need.
are indeed.
Чё?
This
Hydra
is the
Magic.
Rotunda, this is the second boss. Again, really cool space. I think that
Я бы
that
написал
really
админ
cool
сакет.
Roman architecture. And
Valve the Гейб Ньювал.
this is the-
А,
the
Том
boss,
Ховард.
the final
Тот
boss
Ховард.
is talking,
Во, все, вспомнил.
Captain
Тодд Ховард. Это директор этого Bethesda. Very nice.
Well, that
We're
was
gonna
easy.
follow them out. Yeah, I know that was easy. Just make these harder. Again, all three of these bosses are. There are 3 bosses in the dungeon, and they each have their own activatable hard mode. So this is pretty cool. This is the flooded garden.
Лол.
So this
God
is a
mode у него,
spot
да, у
where,
него
you know,
God
they can
mode.
kind of, go into
I want to
black.
play now.
That's kind of
Ага.
inside of the-
Why do you...
This is cool.
How many time are you giving away Crown?
Whoa!
А, кроуны это эти.
Oh my goodness.
Кроуны
Do it
это
again.
валюта в Teso, кроуны.
Again, do it again.
А они их спрашивают в чате у них в Твиче, они
So,
спрашивают, сколько
There's
это
some pretty
стоит.
cool stuff with this. This
Сколько
might be
стоит
important
Crown?
in a boss fight, give you a little bit of chance to play with this.
Вот этих игровых валют.
Also, these guys.
Ну, они, соответственно,
Fire
ньютриал. Это не
Wow.
ньютриал, это новое дополнение полностью. Blackwood
Nobody knows where they
выйдет
came from.
весной.
They're obviously
А новый
fire-based
ивент,
arsenal space.
2 новых
Maybe some
данжа,
powerful
новый
things. Specters,
маунт,
flame
пэт,
mounts, and
бронька,
fire
босс,
behemoths.
догон в Обливионе, новые локи, новые
Very
данжи.
big hammers.
They do
No.
have very big hands.
Есть такая
Fire
фишка,
behemoth, right?
Yeah.
при которой можно Обливион
And
хайп.
this is the World Arboretum. So
Да,
this is the final
Обливион
boss.
хайп.
I'm not going to spoil what this is or what
Можно
happens
покупать
here.
не за реальные деньги, а за кроуны. Только я еще пока в этом не разобрался. Кто
Hyrule
надо
Church,
где-то
right.
почитать, загуглить. В этой игре, в Teso, можно зарабатывать кроуны, валюта местная.
Pretty.
Что-то типа платины. Но и за
Well,
эти
if you wanna
кроуны
find
можно
out
покупать
anything about
дополнения.
Blackwood, wait until tomorrow.
Зачем он вообще
Tomorrow.
бегает, пускай чит наперед включит?
PCS, yes.
BTS.
Yeah.
So there would be for this dungeon, the veteran reward is the
Tomorrow?
the memento that summons these little flame salamanders. You may see in a boss fight if you're paying attention. So it kind of ties in. It's kind of the same effect that you can see. This one also has again.
Ну да, в принципе, он должен показывать, как атакуют врагов, а он их тупо ваншотит.
This guy, because taking somebody's face and putting it on your face is kind of weird. So
Kind of.
kind of creepy. but
Now we also
yes.
have a few new emotes that are actually tied to Battlegrounds in Update 29,
yes, we
which we can show you now if you all want to see it. Let's
Давай
show you.
пока
So the
покажи
first
уже.
one, I don't know which one you're
У
gonna
меня
do
500
first. We have
кронов
this
с начала
Fortunes
игры
of
остались, я
Chaos
хз не трогаю, их оставил.
Ball, and you get these just by competing in Battlegrounds.
Что он делает?
Probably
Oh,
winning.
that's fun. He's like,
It's like a
hot,
hot
hot,
potato.
hot.
Эмоция
Hot
новая.
potato, hot potato. Now we also have the
Это
Chaos
эмоции он
Ball
новую
Victory
показывает.
Dance.
Эмоции, а ну стой.
Yay!
That's a fun one.
I got the ball. And then last, I like this
Это
one a lot,
новые
is the
эмоции. Это
Chaos
ты
Ball
прикинь, эмоции
Boom.
платные, чтобы вы понимали.
Nice.
Это как в
That's
Destiny.
awesome.
So
Ну
again,
вот,
these come from
если
playing
сравнить с
in
Destiny, то в
Battlegrounds
Destiny
in
есть
Update 29. They are
пыль,
all
да?
emotes.
Пыль. Яркая пыль.
And I did show
Я не знаю,
off,
Мирослав не играл,
Guidance
Nintendo
a
не играл.
second ago.
Но
This
вот
is
там
Guidance
тоже
sets
есть
that you're-
ивенты,
again, you're
типа
gonna get to see
новый
all of them
рассвет,
tomorrow.
Хэллоуин, Тырым-пырым. И ты зарабатываешь за
This
контракты
is
пыль.
for
Вот тут
tourists.
типа кроуны.
Uh,
Ну, за эти типа деньги, а-ля пыль, можно купить себе
this is
типа
what it looks like
эмоцию новую.
of this
Или
heavy
скин,
set.
или типа тому подобное.
And then Baron
Что-то типа того.
Again,
Да,
It's such a cool look.
Yeah.
it is, right?
I love it.
челик со стрима
I love
такой
it.
радостный, как слон. Конечно,
Yeah,
как слон,
it's
Мирослав,
really
это
cool,
же
and when you see it kind of,
один из разрабов, они же на этом деньги
in that,
зарабатывают.
in that
Это же
dungeon.
дополнения все платные. Причем выходят на все платформы.
Reminiscent of the look.
И PS, и
Yes,
Xbox, и
absolutely.
ПК.
Awesome.
Ну это же
Well,
разработчик.
Ben, always a pleasure to have you on our
Always
streams
a
with
pleasure to
us.
be here.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
showing
thank
us
you.
just a quick preview of these dungeons. Again, they are coming to PCS
Радуется, потому
tomorrow
что
in Update 29. We're very
I
excited.
Они же на этом
cannot
зарабатывают деньги.
Yeah,
Yes.
А мы
Stream
тратим
content
эти
is Steam,
деньги
everybody.
и играем
Absolutely.
they always watch.
в любимые
They do.
игры.
Absolutely.
Не, ну главное, чтобы игра
Alright, then,
дарила
well, thank you
эмоцию.
again for driving
Yes,
to the
thank
office,
you.
for
Игра
showing us
нравилась.
around, and I'm sure we will definitely see
Да.
you on our stream.
Писали, что дадут.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Все, идем смотреть
We
аниме.
have more.
We have a lot to talk about here tonight. Real quick, just want to remind everybody if you're trying to
Да я
win
вообще
that crown pack
в шоке,
giveaway that
как
we're
это
doing
я
every
так не
few
уснул.
minutes,
Я
all
уже
you have to
думал
do is
идти
participate in
какой-то
chat, and we are
фильмец
pulling winners
смотреть.
straight from
Вот
Twitch
тут,
chat.
что
If you want
Nintendo
to see if you've
советовал.
won, we have a forum thread that is sticky. You can check out to see if your name is listed there. And for drops, you have to make sure that you claim a drop in order to be eligible for the next one. So for every 30 minutes that you tune in and watch, you will be able to earn an
Настя
Ouroboros
завтра
Grand
встану
Prix.
на
And don't
оркестр.
forget about the Dragon
Блин,
Fun Fest
Миро,
too, which we've seen a lot of
у
you
тебя
have
же
already been
оркестр
able to
утром.
claim. So, before we move on and welcome Brian Wheeler, we just want to talk about some housing updates coming to Update 29. We know that a lot
Крис.
of you are very enthusiastic about housing. So we have a few
Nintendo, они для
quality
тебя,
of life things that are coming into
по-моему,
this
за
update.
старенькие.
First is
Крис,
fast
тебе
traveling
помоложе
outside of your home.
надо.
We're going to be allowing you to. Oh, well, there's a house. So we're going to allow you to
По-моему,
fast travel outside of
я
your
вот
homes
как
if
бы,
you
ну,
want, or you can
нормально,
still travel
ну,
inside. Just make it a little bit easier for you.
но они
Next,
не,
we have improvements
не
coming
капец
to,
прям такие старенькие. Но, по-моему,
previewing,
Nintendo для
furnishing,
тебя
and
точно
house guests.
старенькие.
So, full house. We're gonna basically allow you to preview furnishing plans directly from your inventory, and also when
Да.
previewing a house guest, you will be able to see a selection of voice lines.
Они
So
под
you kinda get a sense of
маскировкой.
their personality a little bit.
Decide if you really want them chatting in your house or not.
I mean,
Я помню, как этот
legit, right?
Фара, Кратос,
we have a
Кратос.
furnishing. We have a
Помнишь
bunch of new
Кратоса?
furnishings coming in Update 29.
Когда,
We do have one furnishing in particular
этот,
that's really cool that you're going to be able
Где
to
в
test
стрим
on
смотрели
PCS. It's
Ребекка,
called
он,
the Ethereal
о,
Realm.
Ребекка,
So
Ребекка.
when you place this in your home, you and your
Она,
guests
он
will be able to fully restore
нравится
all
ему
health,
Ребекка.
magical stamina,
Не,
and
ну Ребекка,
ultimate. So this is going to be really cool if
наверное,
you're doing
много кому
dueling
нравится.
tournaments, or if you're trying to do some
Мне
DPS
почему-то
parties
всегда
or
нравились
something,
девчонки
you can
старше
use
меня
that
и
furnishing
выше
and
2
replenish
метра.
everything.
Ого!
Which is pretty
We
cool,
also
right?
have, yeah, it is.
Это эти
We also have, you
волейболистки,
guys saw a
где
sneak peek
таких
of one of them just
найти?
now. We have 2 brand new houses that will be on the PTS that you
Где
can
таких
check
найти,
out,
Крис?
tour. And the First one
Идешь там в
is
эту
located
дюсшак,
in
какую-то спортивную
Bardenfell.
школу,
It's
наверное,
called
надо идти. да?
Barlaeus Vea Iliad Ruins.
Ooh, nice. You practiced that, didn't you?
There we go. So that is the first house.
А по-моему, я заметил такую
And then the
тенденцию, что
second
титаны,
is Kushalit Sanctuary
как раз
in
наоборот,
Coast.
маленькие девочки,
So you'll be able to check these out
девушки,
starting tomorrow on the
они
PC
как
app.
раз любят
Encourage you
высоких
to do
парней.
so.
Как-то все,
Right.
We might even
я
take
вот,
a
ну,
closer
часто
look at
такое
these in a
наблюдаю
future
тенденцию.
stream.
Sure we will.
Я всегда
And
вижу,
Cullen loves
идет
to
такая маленькая
show off
девушка,
houses.
маленькая, и пацик
Alright,
в 2 раза
so,
больше ее
before we
выше.
move on,
И
we
это
do want
стопудово
to
так
announce
всегда.
our next giveaway winner for that merchandise bundle that we showed off earlier. So we have Mighty
Спортивную
Rhino
школу и находите
Gaming
одну.
just won.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And you know what? Screw it. Let's do
Yeah.
another
Вот,
winner.
смотрите, это
Wanna
был
do two?
розыгрыш.
All right.
Кто выиграл?
Foresterus.
Congratulations, both.
Congratulations to you both. You just won that lithograph, the Blackwood t-shirt, the Dwarven Constellation Cube,
Кто-то выиграл
those artifacts,
футболку,
and that entire bundle of the statue
настольную
and
эту
Varenstegon lithograph
фигурку,
and the token.
значки,
Really cool stuff, right?
новую обнову.
So these will be going out
собственно.
again a little bit closer to the summertime when everything is released.
Всякие эти статуэтки,
Let's
картину.
get Brian Wheeler in here. So
Вот эти
Brian
пальцы.
Wheeler, our lead PvP and combat designer. It's been a while since we've heard from Wheeler. Here he is.
Hey, Brian.
In the, not really the flesh,
Good.
in the electronic flesh. Live
What, you
from
don't
your
have a
home.
fireplace in
Ведущий
your office?
боевой дизайнер.
Bitchin',
Right?
but
Дизайнер по
no,
ПВП
no,
и
just the house. It's just
боевки.
Everybody's staying safe.
All right.
Yeah.
So Brian is here to talk about some
Опять какой-то
pretty
сжигал.
interesting things. We're excited to
That's one way to word it.
excited to have him on here to talk about some things coming in update 29. So Brian,
Yep.
А,
Take it
смотри, она зашуршала немножко.
Well, I wanna start
слева.
first off.
А это в центре что-то
It's something that
засмущалось.
I haven't been here for a while, right? And I just want to take a minute to kind of thank everybody that's been working on what we're getting ready to talk about for a long time. When I got put in charge of the combat team, I think this is about 2 years ago now, we kind of got put the task of, trying to help combat evolve and set it up for the future in ESO. And we've done a lot of work for that so far, and what we're getting ready to talk about also will detail a lot of what we've been talking about, I want to say, at least for the past year and a half. So I just want to take a minute. Like, again, I'm here to represent
Я
everybody from the
пытаюсь
combat
понять, о чем он
team,
говорит.
from
Он
other
говорит,
teams
что
that
мы
we've worked
много
with,
работаем, мы
as we've worked on these
много...
things. So I just want to thank real quick, like
Пытаемся
Alec,
реализовать,
Nadav, Kyle, our engineers, Connor, John, and Dylan, the UI team that we've had to work heavily with, Bobby, Kyle, different Kyle, Seth, and Vince. They've done a great job at getting the UI for everything we're getting ready to talk about worked up. Our QA team has done really, really well.
Это
Kevin,
он
Steven,
хвалит
Jake,
своих
I'm sure there's a
разработчиков,
ton of
своих,
other
эту
people,
команду
David,
этих программистов, которые
they
работают
go through everything we
над боевкой.
present to them and be like, please find what's messed up with this, so
it's definitely
we
a
can
team
get it
effort,
fixed.
right?
Но пока они
Yeah,
нам
there's
ничего не
an
покажут, мы
army
не
of people
поймем
behind
просто.
everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Откуда Минишо до
And,
этого?
and
Including
that
the
stretches
stream.
off.
Вообще ни разу
Right,
пока
exactly.
что не
And that stretches
ответил.
off to like
Девчонка
Finn.
есть
Like,
третий
we've been
день
working
не
with
пишет
Finn
в ВК,
and
а я не
Jeremy,
отвечаю. А это
to
точно
make sure
девчонка?
everything we do doesn't, like,
У нас сейчас
destroy
модно
dungeons or anything like that, and
эти
obviously I
ставить
couldn't
аватарки
and this all,
девушек.
branches back to the faith we get from
Сейчас
from
вообще
Rich
фиг
and Rob
поймешь.
to be like, you know what, go forth, fix this.
Как понять?
We know that you can do a good job, and I just want to thank everybody.
Как страшно
Again,
жить.
I am representing what we've worked on for a while, but I just want to take a second to thank everybody because it's a lot of work
Хочешь, чтобы дали
that we've
премию?
done over the past
А это точно девчонка?
2 years, a lot of
Especially
meetings.
from home over the last year.
Так вот
Exactly.
Дима тоже
Yeah,
спросил.
here definitely hasn't been easy.
Это точно
But-
девчонка?
I'm hoping that what we're getting ready to show everybody is exciting.
Я учился программистом, чтобы пойти на DE и
You are looking
удалить
forward
весь
to
код
testing it
игры с базы
as much as we've been playing it,
данных
testing
и
it,
реестров в
for the
игре.
past,
Months.
again, for months,
Yeah.
months and months and months. So that's a hell of a build.
Да, вообще хз на
So I'm just gonna hit a button here and make everybody kind of like go, oh my god.
Нави.
So this is a major update regarding the system that's been in the game for a very long time. The champion system has been in Elder Scrolls Online for years. And its initial goals to provide a means to progress your character beyond level 50.
Это созвездие, да?
Did that for a very long time.
Скиллы.
But the problem was we started to have to cap it. As everybody's known, we've had it capped at 810 for a very long time. And
Hunter,
said, when are we going to get an update? When are we getting something? And it's been real hard trying not to say, we've been working on it for a while. So,
yeah, because progression feels good.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is something that we wanted to tackle from several angles. It wasn't just, we want to update it and that's it. That's all we care about. No, there are lots of angles that we approached with this. One is sort of what I talked about a little bit already, which was
Да не думаю, Мирослав, что...
But there's two types of progression. There's horizontal,
что все так
which is
просто.
sort of like broadening your character, letting you do more things.
Сразу
Elder Scrolls
все взяли и пришли прям.
For horizontal progression across the board. It's also vertical. Vertical progression is more power, letting your characters heal more, damage more, soak up more damage, do more things. And CP 1.0, as we're going to call it,
the original, the current version,
right? The OG,
yeah.
CP, right? It did a great job at that, but again, we had to cap it, and we started to see the limitations that it had. So we had to fix that. We had to provide not only vertical power, but also horizontal power to let people broaden their characters. Other aspects that we wanted to tackle with this involved choices.
Из того, что они показали данж, и тот читак был разработка.
36 stars that you
новый лог показали. Ролик крутой показали.
It's really okay.
Много очень, честно говоря.
Damage, are you
Putting
healing?
more points into the same.
Yeah, and that 36
По-моему,
points,
много
that
очень...
36 options gets
Они
like
прям
real down real
растянули
fast.
этот
So it really wasn't much of that option.
разработчик.
And we wanted to address that, but again, we wanted to have choices that are involved in that.
Самые главные какие-то моменты показать.
Bar, your ability bar, you can only put 12 things on there. So you have obviously tons of skills, tons of abilities that you can put on there, but
Ярослав задумался.
It's got everything. I was like, whatever. And my dog's drinking in the background.
Так, сейчас я...
I'm sorry for that.
You know what?
Мы уже столько говорим, я уже опять чай хочу.
Yeah, right?
All good.
That's true. He's a 95-pound golden retriever that likes to slurp a lot of water.
We see a lot of people asking questions in chat about what are we seeing, what's that thing up there. We are definitely going to get into all of it, don't worry.
We're
We
gonna
are.
get into that
We're going to
for
take a
sure.
look.
Yeah.
We are actually looking at
Don't
part
worry.
of the game. Yeah.
Yep. We need to explain where we're going before we kind of explain where we're at right now.
Yep.
Блин, уже сколько? Блин, уже 2 часа ночи.
So Brian, it sounds like you guys are looking
Высокие рыжие
to
нравятся.
create a endgame system
ХЗ мне
building
не пофиг.
upon the original champion system that has more choices, more tools.
Ну
in
пусть
your
еще пока
toolbox
будет,
and is
трансляция идет, я
expandable
знаю.
into the future.
Definitely.
Пока тусимся.
And one of the last things that
Ну реально уже
had to
бы
address was
по-доброму
performance.
отдыхать, уже
Saw
ложиться.
in Matt's
Реально 2
article,
часа ночи.
performance is a very big focus for the
Что-то я
company.
поздновато рубанул.
We want to make sure that Elder Scrolls Online is
Но они так запустили, они в
progressing
час.
into the future, not only just for players and be able to advance their character, but making sure that the game is performant, and that was another main focus.
Ну давай, пока
And that is what
у
the
тебя еще
priority
3, у
across
тебя
the board
3
this
уже?
year.
Absolutely.
Ну да, в России на час вперед.
So we're gonna kind of start breaking down some differences between 1.0 and 2.0 here. Obviously, you can see that we
Я не
kinda
думаю,
kept the
что
same
эту
color
трансляцию
scheme
кто-то будет
of,
пересматривать.
green, blue, and red, but
Вот,
things are
вот обычно,
It does look
yeah,
really nice.
yeah.
вот если
And
вы
this is kinda what I was talking
приходите,
about with the UI team. Oh god, Vince did a
это
great
тебе
job
не
walking
дев-стрим
this
раз в
thing
месяц по часу.
up. But you see the names different. One of those things is called Warfare. This one's called
Кстати,
Craft.
дев-стрим,
This one's called Fitness.
вы видели, если новости Машика,
They
то
each have
в пятницу
stars that
дев-стрим
are
будем
sort of
смотреть.
focused around that,
Может, что
I
покажут
apologize
по
for
Октавии,
trying
может,
to
что-то еще.
keep my dog
Стеклодув уже закончился, да?
It's all good.
But
Кто знает.
let's go into warfare here real fast.
Just pet
So
the
there are
dog.
3 instead of 9 now.
There are 3 instead of 9, and you spend points in every.
Да, хороший вариант.
In CP 1.0, you spent points in just a couple stars, or 12. 12 per color. Now we're talking somewhere around the vicinity of 99. So
Короче, я на телефоне, если что,
big variety.
будем уже потихоньку
We
отдыхать.
also changed the functionality of the stars. You remember how before it was just
А
like
прикинь, я сейчас
you would
усну и
spend
забуду
points in a
стрим
star,
вырубить.
and it would just
Вот будет
increment it
прикольно.
as you
Утром
went.
просыпаюсь, стрим идет.
And that was a
Там
very
пишет,
familiar,
ты где,
method of
Вообще
progression.
охерел,
Everybody's
пошел
used to it.
спать.
But it also had that thing called jump points.
Yep.
Whereas like if you were in between
Не,
a point,
не. Да
you're like,
когда?
I'm
Не, мира
not
не
really
видел.
a full percentage point, so I'm actually
Yeah.
getting it.
Пока не
We did
начинал.
away with that by doing these things
Я
called stages of points. So as you saw in that other
сейчас
star, it
смотрю
was like,
«Судьба,
spend a
великий
point.
приказ, Вавилония».
In this one, I have to spend at least 10
Ну,
points.
не сейчас,
to get
ну,
stamina.
не в данный момент.
If I keep going forward,
Я,
obviously,
ну,
I just
ну,
spend
можно
more
так
points.
сказать.
This gets rid of that concept of jump points where you're like,
Аниме
oh, I'm
неплохое.
not fully there, I
Так
don't
один
really
стример
understand.
снова ему 100
Is it
тысяч
0.01%?
задонатили.
Yeah, that percentage
Right.
of a
Yeah.
percentage. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it makes it
very
much more
clear
clear.
in that regard. That helps out with
За
some
то,
of the
что он
problems
уснул.
of clarity for getting people into the system as well. But
Нормально.
we're kind of talking about vertical progression here more than horizontal, and I'm going to touch on horizontal in a second. By the fact that I'm getting max stamina, great, no problem. Here, I'm
Я
also
видел
getting
большие
max.
донаты, но это
Now we're
очень
gonna get into
странно,
something
реально.
that is. See how this is sort of like a different
Там
color to the
реклама
stars?
типа
lot of different
казино
This
какого-то,
I can actually.
типа вот в таком
take
вот формате.
and you see where it says add to champion bar
Ну,
to activate?
Show
Может
me,
быть,
Brian.
типа, не
That's where
знаю,
you
свои
actually
какие-то.
drag it to this
Ну
top
реально,
bar
ну
up here.
столько.
And everybody's looking at this top bar going, what is this?
What is it?
It's a means to tackle two things at once. One is performance, because a lot of abilities. If you think about Bastion, for example, from CP 1.0.
Что, народ, доброй ночи тогда.
affects your,
Будем
damage.
закругляться скоро.
So every time you do an ability, the system
Спасибо.
will have to go, was that a damage shield? Do I need to worry about
Nintendo,
that?
Мирослав.
And we're talking, and when I say every time you do an ability, I mean like
Мимон.
even drinking a potion or
Potions.
roll dodging.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, was
Я,
that a
ещё
damage shield?
я немного еще на
So,
телефоне посидим.
We've done a little bit of work with this over the past couple of years.
Because that's a lot of checks.
addressing- Yes, it
That's
is.
a lot of
Of course.
checks.
If you think about basically a decently spec'd out CP 1.0 character, they got like 30 or 40 passives on them at one time. It's checking that every time you do something,
Yeah.
Yep.
especially in
Про
combat.
этот дев-стрим
So
спать
it's-
можно
It's
хорошо.
a lot.
And to
So
be
we're limiting
clear,
that to 12 there.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say like that bar up there. I'm pointing with my mouse, like everybody can see it. The bar, the champion bar up there. I see people
Доброй ночи,
asking, like,
народ.
is this permanent? Can I respect this? Like, think of it like your ability bar, where you can kind of
It's
swap
ability
out
bar.
abilities. Yeah, you
Yep.
can move things in and out in different
Yeah, like, here's-
situations.
Оркестр
Here's a
твой...
great example. So
Да
I
не,
got
я
some
думаю, он
there.
проснется. Там будильник.
There. As long as I'm not in combat, I can swap those out.
Yeah,
No
so
problem.
you can do this anywhere. It doesn't have limitations of location. It's just whether or not you're in combat.
Right. So you do have to start making some choices on which ones you want up
Yes.
there.
Now that does bring up a valid point that if one of the concerns is, oh my god, there's only 12 passes up here, what about these other ones? These are things, if you think about like an item set, when you get max stamina on an item set, that doesn't function the same way that an ability would work. So this is just straight up giving you a stat, no problem, there's no performance hit on that.
So not all the stars you see have to be slotted.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So in this case, again, I'm just pointing at max stamina in this
Yeah.
case, but you also have a slottable max stamina one, because this one you can just keep putting points into it as well. So when we look at the system, you kind of touched on it earlier. We want this to be able to grow moving forward. And if you think about the original champion system, it kind of had the art. It was kind of like locked in on that one layer, and that was kind of it, right? We wanted to make sure that we could add more stars to this system, so we've added sort of a layering method where within a constellation you have a secondary constellation, and we have three types of constellations. Three sub-constellations per constellation. So this gives us lots of room to expand, but you can say in this case, like, here's some healing taken, and here's another slottable for crit resistance, which we all know is great for PvP. So, again, every constellation has 3 of these types of substars available to them. In Warfare, we have them filled out right now. But if you look at something like Fitness, they don't have sub-constellations just yet. We can add them in the future. And that is one of the great things about this system, that it is built from the ground up to be able to support ESO for many, many years to come. This lets us add more stars if we want to.
Yeah.
And
So
the
on
same
the-
functionality is here.
Oh, that's cool. So on the PTS tomorrow, when people try this out, the only constellation that will have those, I don't know, I guess
The
we could call them
sub-constellations.
nebulas. Yeah, the sub-constellations
sub-constellations.
is this one, Warfare.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But again, that doesn't preclude us from adding more into them later on.
Yeah, and to be
Right.
clear,
This-
this is part of update 29. I see a lot of people
Yeah,
asking,
this
when does
isn't
this
30.
go live? Like, no, this is this upcoming DLC in the base game patch. So it will be on
You'll be
PTS
able
tomorrow.
to play this tomorrow.
Yep, on PTS. I know some people are saying this looks a little confusing. Like, once you get in there and kind of start clicking around and getting used to the system,
Yeah,
this is
it's
a lot to
definitely-
take in right now. We know.
Exactly.
It
This
is.
is a lot of information, and again, this is stuff that we've worked on 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. I guess one of the other main points that we wanted to bring up about this is, you see how this thing's called craft. We didn't want to make it all about combat. That was sort of one of the things that CP 1.0 had a little bit that it touched on, with being able to like yield double from crafting nodes out in the wild. But we're trying to push that a little bit further, where if you look at this one, like Breakfall, it reduces your fall damage taken. And then we have some stars that cost a lot, but you see it's pretty important. If you resurrect yourself or somebody else, you have a chance not to consume a soul gem. So this I guess constellation is focused not necessarily on combat itself, but things you do around combat, but also just, you know, what you're doing around in the world. This is where
There's
you're
a lot
going to
of
find
utility.
right a lot of
Yeah.
utility for your character. And this again, this UI, it's gorgeous. They did an amazing job on it, and these are it for the constellations. There's no like, where's the other 6? This is the 3, but again, here we're going from 36 choices to 99, and yes, it is overwhelming from when you just think about it at the start, but you'll start to see patterns in these things. Like over here, here's like healing done on this side, where on this side, it's about damage. So you'll start to see that everything's linked together in a manner that supports various play styles. Not so much necessarily am I mag or stam,
Yeah.
but like what am I playing?
And I'm seeing that there's a lot of functionality that was is in the original champion point system that is still here. So
Yes.
it seems like we're not really going to lose a lot of that functionality. Perhaps some of the passives that you can slot,
Yeah, we
but also
we did,
specializing.
Yeah, we did pull in a bunch of passives. I mentioned Bastion earlier. We pulled that one in. We have things like Unchained, various CP abilities from CP 1.0 that we pulled into 2. But obviously, there's some new ones that we've added.
There's a lot of
as
new
well.
ones, yeah.
Right, like this is an example, and this is where we get into that horizontal progression, because you know as you are progressing through CP, there's going to be a point where you've gotten as much, I guess, vertical power out of it as you can, and then it turns into choices. What do you want to slot instead
Right.
of what you've had up there? But it is obviously important to slot up all 12 of these as much as possible. It's just like your action bar, and that is a conscious decision that we've looked at design-wise. It's like we want there to be
Война
choices
миров.
and there to be trade-offs in this new system.
Вы-
But again,
вы-
because it's expandable, and because that we know that we can keep progressing this in the
Эра
future,
Котальтрона.
we think that the capability of adding all kinds of new and unique stars to the system is boundless, and we can't wait to add more stuff to it.
Yeah.
That being said, obviously everybody can see that these numbers add up way beyond 810.
What's that mean?
They do.
So the cap will be lifted We will be going up to 3600.
So people who are already higher
Yes.
or at the cap.
Вы на котов X.
Yeah, yeah.
Boy, oh
Yep.
boy.
And in doing that, we did address the curve, the rate to level up. So you will be able to level up and not like blaze through it, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm stuck getting up to 3600. There's definitely there's a point again where you start to get as much power out of this as you're going to get, and then it just turns into choices. And that's again what Elder Scrolls is all about. It's about choices. It's about building your character, how you want to build your character.
And about the situation.
Exactly. And if you want to respec it, you kind of touched on this earlier. It doesn't cost anything to change what you have slotted. It still costs a standard 3,000 gold to, change up your stars.
Like
if you wanted
everything,
to go through,
right? Yeah.
Right. You can just go, okay, I didn't want 40 points there. Let me change it and put it somewhere else. That's still the 3,000, of course.
Yeah. Brian, I see a lot of people in chat asking about the gear cap. So we talked about the champion point cap being raised. What about gear cap?
It's still going to stay at 160.
Okay.
Level 50, CP 160 is still the same.
Okay.
That is not going to change.
And to be clear, we touched on this earlier, how Matt said in his kind of retrospective last year that a lot of our focus is on performance this year. You might be looking at this like, oh my god, you're redoing this entire system. How is that focusing on performance? But a lot of this does help with perf issues, as Brian was saying. So.
Yeah, and that gets back to, again, the functionality of this champion bar for one. Because if you look at On Guard, for example, it's while under the effect of crowd control immunity. That is a requirement that has to be checked. That is why we have it set up right here, where you have to have this slotted. You just don't get it for free.
Right.
If you want to have that bonus, you need to actually commit to having it.
Yeah.
Versus just 30 or 40 passes on your character that's just checking every time you're doing something.
So this reduces the amount of passives that have to be checked against the server any number of times per minute to 12 at any given time. Is that right?
It's not even per minute; it's per action. It's
Yeah. Oh, true.
anytime you do anything shy of WASD movement and jumping, this is going to cut down on that stuff.
Whereas
Again,
before it was dozens.
right?
of
Yeah.
passives.
And
Right.
I want to stress this isn't a silver bullet. This is a step in line with what we're trying to do as a studio to
Right.
progress ESO forward, to make it more performant, and to make sure that we're building combat abilities and systems that support that goal. And that was a major part of the champion upgrade system.
Brian, one thing I'm seeing is we had talked about how you took this system and this gave everybody as a team the opportunity to not only make it more performant, give players more choices, make it more expandable, but I'm also seeing that you all took that opportunity to also look at where you could give better choices, where you could make improvements on
Yes.
some of the passives that were available and what's missing, or what have players been asking for that we could add, and that's really cool.
And that
Yeah.
gets, I guess, it's really pointed out in the warfare tree, where on this side, again, you have sort of the damage style stuff, and on this side you have the healing. But in the middle, up top, is where you start getting some flavor, and the bottom down here is where you start to get into survivability. Then it turns into a bit of, okay, what am I going to spec this character out as? Am I going to make it surviving? Obviously, there's some stuff that is in the conditioning trees that helps out a bit, but this really does make you have to figure out what you want to build your character as. Do you
And that
wanna
goes
be
back to the
glass cannon?
situations, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Do you
Yeah.
like to play mostly PvP? Do you like to mostly use trials? Do you solo most of the time? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's really cool.
And all these stars, all of them, again, there's about 99 of them, are going to be playable on PTS tomorrow. So,
Awesome.
lots of stuff.
Now,
So
Brian, you
combine
have
this.
you
Oh,
have a
sorry.
couple other things
Yeah.
that is going into the update.
So, I don't know if anybody caught this quickly when we were on the initial screen here, but you can see that there's a new stat here that everybody's been asking for on their screen. Spell pen, Biz pen. We know that there's a lot of people that play the game that don't have access to mods. And we know that there's been a mod that people have used on PC for a long time that gives them more stats than people have been able to see elsewhere.
Numbers, yay!
So this is now something that is base game, where we are giving you, quote unquote, an advanced stat window where you can see things that, like your bash cost, your block cost, breakthrough cost reduction, all this stuff is now added in here. And you can see how some are percentages and some are flat values. Obviously, you know, this is how much does it cost you to sprint, this is how much does it cost you to sneak, but there are other things like how fast what's the percentage on the sneak speed. This kind of is very visible in the, you know, the crit and the physical damage and bleed damages. We wanted to include flat and percent because we kind of have both that are provided to you depending upon abilities that you have cast, whether you have a major or minor on you, you know, whether you're wearing a certain type of gear or whether you have certain champion points spent. So this information we felt was also critical to give to people to not only build their characters but also to help them progress moving forward. We have this one thing over here which is, you know, an equipment bonus star rating. That was cool to see, like, okay, yeah, I should be wearing gold gear and I should have it, you know, at CP 160. And it's like, yeah, you're wearing the right amount of gear. But you had to, like, really dissect all this stuff down here. And it wasn't enough information that people were getting. So that's why we felt like, you know what, we should give advanced stats by default. Because a lot of people use that mod. And it's great to just say, you know what, doesn't matter if you're on PC or console, you now get to go ahead and get your advanced stats, which is pretty cool.
And that,
That helps you build your character.
And it is on PC and console, which is pretty exciting.
Yep.
Console players are like, oh, finally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give,
exactly.
give everybody
See all the
access.
More stuff to show on people's YouTube's videos about how they're building out their characters.
Yeah, right?
With the
Yeah.
stat.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's one more thing to show. It's a lot. I know that everybody's like, oh my god, champion point. I want to go back to that real quick and note that everybody that used to play a lot of CP understands that as you were spending points in CP as you leveled up, you would just get some passive max mag health and stamina. As you can see on this character, these stats look pretty high. We took a lot of the stats that people were getting in CP 1.0 and sort of baked them into characters as you leveled from 1 to 50, because all of the work that we've done, balance-wise, item set-wise, ability-wise, over the past 2 years, is kind of reflected in each of these stars about how many points you get per stage and how many points, you know, per click on some of these. This is all taken into account. Our balance passes, our calculators that say how much a item set proc or an item set passive gives you for your stats. That's why we saw that we needed to actually make sure we cooked in some of those stats that you were getting for free in CP 1.0, because if you think about it, if you have to spend points in CP to get health, mag, and stam, that's not really a choice. It's just something that you should have. It's just something that should just be baked into your character. Right. And through our testing over the past several months, like, we saw that we needed to add that in there to make sure that people can still do content, and that was a major focus as well, that when you go from CP 1.0 to 2.0, you can still do the content that you were able to do yesterday. It's not like some magical switch that was like, nope, you can't do Overland anymore, you got to spend all these points, you got to retool your character. That was a very major focus of Jeremy and Finn and Rich and Rob. We were all very, very focused on making sure that you still do content that you were able to do the day before.
That's awesome.
So it's not like a hard reset button or anything like that. It's just another way to specialize your character. You're still going to be able to go out there and beat that hard mode. We've seen our internal QA hardcore team go out and still beat hard mode. They do hard mode with no CP spent, so they're able to go through and still do the content, which is good. But again, we want CP to give you more options.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm getting ready to branch into next, which is this last thing
More options.
about armor. If you think about armor in Elder Scrolls, mainly in, I don't know, if you think about like Oblivion and Skyrim and clunking around in heavy armor, you're not too stealthy when you do that.
No.
You can take a beating, but like people are going to hear your clanky feet walking around, and your stealth is not going to be that great. Now we're not going to go full ham and say that you can't stealth at all while you're wearing heavy armor, or if you're wearing light armor, you can move like the wind and jump 500 feet with athletics. But we do know that
It's heavy.
armor is definitely it is a choice that you make when you build out your character, whether you're going into PvP, whether you're going into trials, dungeons, just roaming around the world. We know that there are definitely metas out there where if you're going to do damage, you wear all medium, or you wear all light if you're in a trial in an optimized group. But we also know that the passes we have in light, medium, and heavy don't really sort of drive home that concept of this is armor and these things are augmenting the armor.
Mm-hmm.
So what we wanted to do was make whether you're wearing light, medium, or heavy feel like you're wearing light, medium, or heavy. We've added these quote unquote penalties and bonuses that go with a play style that we have observed and understand most people in that type of armor play as. So a good example of this would be a light armor bonus. If you're wearing light armor, 9 times out of 10, you're doing magical style attacks. You're doing magical effects. So by that nature, you should be sort of more resistant to magical. You are, you're Gandalf. You're a mage. You're doing things that are magical. But again, if you think of Skyrim and Oblivion, light armor had magical bonuses, and that's sort of what we're trying to reflect with this. But then we kind of went into the vicinity of, well, what does wearing light armor actually feel like, and how does it interact with our core mechanics like dodge, like sprint, block. One of the things you can see here is that the cost of bash is reduced by 3%. It's because you're wearing clothes. It shouldn't be a lot to bash somebody. But on the other hand, your damage while bashing is reduced because there's not a lot behind it. Where if you think about heavy armor, you get to hit a little bit harder because there's a lot more mass behind that bash.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where we went with this. We went with what is the fantasy of wearing heavy, light, medium, and what is the interactions that you get with the core mechanics. And heavy and light sort of play off each other. So if you're in like 3 light, 3 heavy, there's going to be some things that sort of neutral each other out. You can see here there's reduces damage taken from martial attacks in heavy, and in light there's increases damage taken from martial attacks. They're both 1%, so if you have 3 and 3, it's a null game, no problem. Medium is where we sort of added some extra little tidbits that felt more like you're a sneaky character, and that's sort of what medium felt like to us. It felt like you're a roguey style character walking around stealing things, sneaking things, but that's where we had to get a little creative as well, where as soon as you dodge, you get to not necessarily get too messed up by an area effect. You're a slippery character. It's leather. Stuff doesn't stick to it. You know what I mean? So that's sort of where we went with armor to make armor feel like armor. In a lot of our playtests, in PvP especially, a lot of feedback was this feels like my choice matters.
Yeah. Goes back
Am
to
I
all those
wearing light?
choices.
Am I wearing heavy? Right. And this is gonna reflect in trials and in dungeons, and it may just support what some people already do, and that's fine. But we definitely didn't want to make it where people had a de facto armor. That's just what you wear. That's it.
Which
no
is
matter
what's
what.
happening now, yeah.
Right.
In a lot of cases.
And that's again, what the combat team has been tasked to look at for the past 2 years. And we're not done. We still have lots of other stuff we still need to do.
Well, not for update
But-
29, but
Not for
in the
29.
future.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot to absorb
Yeah.
for 29.
Oh, you don't want to
Yeah.
add more to update 29?
more things, more things.
I've lost a lot of hair in the past
Aw.
3 or 4 months.
Aw.
So I've gotten a lot more grays that I've trimmed up for the show. But yeah, it's been a rough year, not just because of everybody having to have to be safe, but we've had a lot of work
Yeah.
that we've done, and I hope that again everybody can appreciate all the work the combat team has done, the UI team, QA,
Hello.
leadership. It's been a long haul. We've kept a lot of this stuff under our hat, even if you think about the past update.
Some of this
With
has
the,
been in progress for like a year.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a
If you think
while,
about like
for
the
sure.
set collection,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was all part of this as well to help with these changes that we knew were coming. And these are all things that we've had to have meetings and hours of design discussions, and it's great to see it all in game and everybody being able to play it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Will be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, a
And
lot
we
of it is
will
kind of
have,
starting with the foundation.
Yep.
We will be posting a more detailed write-up on the forums immediately following
Yes.
this stream. Just kind of getting into the new champion system, or I'll say the updated champion system, and then touching on the advanced stats and the armor type changes. And again, like this will all be in the patch notes also tomorrow once we're in
Yep.
PTS maintenance. So,
Lots
Lots
of
of
info.
patches. There's obviously there's going to be other changes that we do, per usual for the combat team to address outlying performance issues with various abilities. That will be in the PTS patch notes as well. But these were the major things that we wanted to talk about, and we again thank everybody that has been working on this, and we are looking forward to everybody's feedback on this one. It's a lot of work, but we are looking forward to working with the system for years and years to come.
now we would be amiss if we
Если
didn't touch
ложимся, то
on
утром будет
PTS.
жопа.
So
Right.
last year, if you remember,
Прикольно пообщались.
we were kind of
Реально.
investigating ways to improve
Давайте
performance
до
of
встречи.
Serial.
Доброй
We did a
ночи.
whole bunch of tests,
А то будет пипка.
throughout 2020, and as we posted
Споки,
on the forums,
споки,
those tests
споки,
didn't
народ.
result in a significant enough impact on improving the overall experience in Cyrodiil.
Поки.
So we had last
Right.
said, we're gonna go back to the